And you're welcome. You're all welcome to this evening's session on revenue. Gradually, we're moving ahead with the program, and well done to all the founders for progress made thus far. It's also a very warm delight to have with us our mentors who will be, speaking to you this evening and engaging with you on this session. So the session is titled Revenue and Business Models Session. I believe that you have all had time to go through what the goals are and the topics to which the mentors will be speaking to. But I'll quickly just do like a run over before we start. So the goal of this session, that's the revenue and business model session, is to help founders develop a reliable revenue source for your business. If you're planning to raise money, you must have a plan to obtain at least 100 million naira in sales by the end of year one. And of course, ×5 of that in revenue by the end of year 5. So the mentors are going to be speaking to the following areas in their presentation, which will help you meet these targets, that I've just mentioned. 1, how to survive before receiving financing or generating revenues. Then 2, how to identify the most lucrative revenue source for your business. And 3, how to identify a revenue source that is attractive to your target customers. Then 4, some common challenges in picking a revenue model and how to test different revenue sources with your target customers. Also, they'll be speaking to the key business drivers for different types of revenue models and how unit economics work and how to forecast your revenue. So also, in addition, when you go to your dashboard, you'll see the list of resources on this topic, revenue and business models, which you're required to also read in addition to the presentation that the mentors are going to make. Some will share a slide and others will just speak to the topic directly from, up front. So this is the goal and what we hope to capture this evening. So like I said earlier on, well done for those who have made it thus far. And the program is going to get more intense going forward. Your customer development sprints on the average 30 hours. The next for this session also 30 plus hours work per week that is required from you. And I'd like you to note that the mentor idea review is coming up in 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks from now, the mentor idea review, all founders will be pitching before a mentor panel. We're going to have about 10 mentors for this review. So it's going to be the first cut. And once the mentors rate and your pitch does not measure up according to the rating, then you have to be dropped from the program. And so hot seats going forward from today, your hot seats pitch are for 60 seconds. That is 1 minute pitch. So we're going to be sharing the template, and for those who are pitching this evening, you pitch for 1 minute, not the one sentence, but the 1 minute pitch, which some of you have already started using. So welcome to everyone once again, and I'd like to welcome our mentors warmly. We also welcome our partners warmly. Partners who are sponsoring this program is NCDMB, Nigerian Content Monitoring Development Board, and ably represented here by Mr. Jonathan Njoku. So thank you, Mr. Jonathan, for your presence this evening. Also, the mentors that we have here with us are serial entrepreneurs, investors. The first person is Mr. Badia Aluko, who is a business person who has been at the helm of 5 different companies. He holds the position of the chairman of Great Nigeria Insurance PLC, executive chairman of Finance Application Systems as FASIL, chairman of Sycamore, managing partner at White Hibiscus Capital, and advisor at Chinook Capital. So in the past, he's also occupied the positions of manager software service at DPMS, and he received a graduate degree in software engineering from the University of Lagos. Also with us is Salisu Uba, FCIPS, who is the founder of NatQuest, who is based in the UK, has a lot of experience in procurement frameworks and research, analysis, and expertise in academia, has a lot of capacity to provide value to customer success, also a serial entrepreneur and investor. He's a mentor at the Global Advisory Chair for Green STEM Initiative and also CIPS Fellow Second Mentorship. He's also providing mentorship to MSc students at Robert Gordon University on digital technologies for procurement and supply. So he's a supply chain expert. Also with us is Mr. Olusheye Basir, who is an investment professional who was previously a partner at Lofty Inc. Capital Management, a seasoned financial professional with extensive experience in investment banking, project and infrastructure finance. Prior to joining LCM, Basir was the investment director at the Investment Fund for Developing Countries, IFU, and this is the institution that manages the Danish Climate Investment Fund, which is the Danish Agribusiness Fund and the SDG Fund. He was the Nigerian director, also covering Francophone West Africa, and Mr. Basir holds an executive certificate in infrastructure in a market economy from Harvard University, Kennedy School of Government, and an MBA from the University of Kansas, and a bachelor's degree in economics from the University of Ibadan. Also with us is Tayo Olayinka Jimoko. He's an accomplished professional with international experience in managing major capital projects with varied complexities and scalabilities, and in diverse areas and arenas, ranging from ultra deep water to deep remote land location and every terrain in between. So he's an oil and gas expert, also an investor, serial investor, yes, in several projects. He's cross-trained as a production engineer with experiential knowledge of reservoir engineering. And he's a communicator who is able to distill engineering concepts to simple bits and bytes to both senior and executives and growing horns. So he brings that expertise to this session this evening and will also be helping greatly with product development. Also with us is Bite Odoye, who is the founder and managing partner of ODBA, an early stage VC firm that invests in innovative founders with transformative ideas, has over 20 years of the financial services experience across Africa and Europe, and his expertise and dedication contribute to the growth of startups and the development of the African tech landscape. And as a seasoned mentor and speaker, he shares his knowledge of entrepreneurship and the potential of technology in Africa, fostering a vibrant ecosystem of innovation. So these are the mentors that we have this evening. So founders, you're going to have your hot seat session to, make your presentations before these mentors this evening, and to show that what you're being taught, you are put into practice. And most of you, when we ask you what your major challenges are, you keep saying it's funding. Okay, so the hot seat pitch that you're made to do as an assignment every week is for you to pitch, to learn how to pitch. And so as you pitch, these investors will be rating you, and your pitch is what will elicit further interest and whether they will be interested in getting on your advisory board or eventually backing you at the end of the day. So put your best foot forward, and we'll be putting up the template on the screen, and you follow the template that we have given to you to deploy. So welcome once again, mentors. Thank you for being here, and also welcome to the founders. And so the next item on the agenda is the working group reports by the working group president. So over to you, Mr. Shegun, to moderate from there. Thanks.
Thank you, Lydia. Welcome, guys. Welcome, founders. Welcome, mentors. And we have a partner also represented here. Welcome, everyone. So we'll quickly move on to group reports. So, guys, what has happened during the week? What has been happening? I noticed some dropout, noticed some people lagging behind in their task. So where do we start from? Do we do alphabetically, or let's just pick? Okay, let's start with the dreamers. Let's get out of dreamers. Are you guys ready?
Yes, I'm very much ready, sir. Good evening.
Okay, great. Let's have your report.
Okay. I'm sorry I didn't send by mail, but I think I should do that. A quick summary, but let's have a quick summary. So
Okay.
we basically spoke about our assignment, the customer development sprint. I think personally I had a bit of challenge as regarding
if you want that would be order. Okay. That means you order for it. That's pictures of the person.
Okay, sorry about that. Tony.
But show me, because don't.
Tony, your mic should be off.
So
Thank
number
you.
one, I think I had a bit of challenge with number one. So my group members helped. And then I think one person dropped off. Mr. Kelichi or Ugechi. Yes, okay. So he dropped off. Yeah, so for now, I think we are good. And then everybody that has had challenge over time, we have been able to fix each other's back. We had a new member, Madam Shehu Miriam, and then she's been doing very well. She's trying to keep up the pace of everything. So far so good. We are good to go, sir.
Okay, that's good. Okay, let's move on to the alphas. 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 Is Shegun Adepoju there? Alphas. Is any other person from that group available on this call?
Yes, I'm available.
Okay, and who is that?
This is Onyeka.
Onyeka, what's been happening to your group? Have
So
you guys had
basically,
any meeting?
yes, we've had 2 meetings, but last week I traveled. I wasn't around, and during when we have the meeting, I was still on the road, so our network wasn't so good for conversation. So I didn't join in the meeting last week. But
So
we've
who
been
joined
having
in the meeting
meetings.
and who can report on what happened in the meeting last week?
Shegun should have been the one to report actually.
Okay. Lola, I see you in this call. Were you at that meeting? Lola Woshika, I see you on this call. Were you at that meeting? Monica, is there anyone else from your group in this call tonight? Monica, is there anyone else from your group on this call right now?
Okay, let me just check.
I see Lola on this call.
Yes, Ibifuro is here.
This Walter.
Walter, how are you? Were
Walter,
you
yes,
at the
Walter
last
is here.
meeting of your group?
We couldn't hold the meeting last week because we couldn't hold some reasons.
So you didn't have a meeting last week?
Yes, yes.
Alphas, you guys are really lacking behind. Okay,
But I had
other?
I had a private meeting, and Lola, we had a conversation in the course of the week.
No, that wasn't a group meeting. That wasn't a group meeting. Okay. So you didn't have a meeting. Okay. Okay. Titans.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Charles Victor is
evening.
my name, the humble president of Titans. Yeah,
Okay.
after our last general meetings, after the Wednesday sessions, we called for a meeting on Thursday, and almost all of us were in attendance. Then there is one of our members who had been inactive for some time. He was also at the meeting, and we discussed at length, and he told us, although we are aware of the challenges before then, but he told us that the challenges were almost over and he is now ready to be involved full time. So we dedicated some time with him. We even had meetings sometimes up till 12 midnight, 1 o'clock in the midnight to discuss the sprints. So unfortunately, he was dropped from the program the following day, and we are still in touch with him. And he's one of his project, not one of his project, his project, and one of our member is something that that could be complementary, and we are looking for ways in which partnership can be struck between the two of them, so that the business idea of our members will actually be more profound, and the partnership that we look for or we seek at the Founders Institute will be achieved. Afterwards, two of our members.
Continue, sorry, continue.
Afterwards, two of our members traveled and had face-to-face discussion. Myself and 4 others were supposed to meet with the M-Form on Saturday, I suppose, but because of what happened, we didn't meet with him again. So we also had another meeting on Sundays. In fact, let's just summarize it. We've been having series of meetings, personal and official. We shifted the date for the meeting, but one of our members requested that we should not say the meeting has been shifted. We should rather have multiple meetings rather than reducing the number of meetings. So we had more than the number of normal official meetings. We were using both WhatsApp and Team and Zoom meetings to discuss the sprints. That's the summary.
Okay, great. Great one there by Titans. Okay, let's see what the champions are for us. Champions. Is Paulo Jimadu on call? Champions. Yeah, I take it that the champions aren't here. Anybody from that group? Anybody from that group on call tonight? Champions?
Rashid Aliyu.
I think I saw Rashid Aliyu there. Rashid?
Yes. Yes.
Is there any other person from your group on call tonight?
I'm trying to check.
I think one of the first things founders should do when you connect is to check for your team members or your group members and see who is in and who isn't in. Okay, so did you guys do anything last week? You take the report.
Yeah, we did have some meetings and we
Okay.
actually helped ourselves through our last class sessions to help get ourselves more involved and help each other where each and every one of us is lacking. Basically, that's what we do, and fine-tune and helps also fine-tune our pitch. That's it.
Okay. No other specific thing to report from your group?
Not so.
Okay, thank you. So let's go on to legends. 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 Anyone from the legends there?
Virginia Olivier,
Who is reporting? Legends? I thought I saw Toyin Yusuf on this call.
Sir.
And I see
Yes,
Okiru
Toyin is
also
here,
on
sir.
this call. And I also see Okiru on this call. So which one of you is reporting?
Good evening. Virginia is there.
Okay. Okay, so you're all from, yeah, so who is reporting for your group?
It should have been Dr. Omar. I don't know if he's available now.
Okay, he's obviously not available. So let's have a report from your group.
Okay, yeah. Our group normally has 2 meetings a week, and we had the meetings Tuesday and Friday. Usually somebody is mandated to take us through the program for the week. And that is usually done, and helps people to complete their assignments. Somehow, yesterday, we were informed that Dr. Best had informed you that he will be going on an assignment. So I believe that maybe he may come sometimes and may not come sometimes. However, since he was the president, the presidency was now changed to Dr. Omar yesterday. So I thought I saw Dr. Omar now, so I was expecting him to report. However, that is what I can say. People have been doing their assignments, and if they have problems, they will bring up the problems to the meeting, and people will contribute to find resolution. Thank you.
Okay. Your last meeting, how many of you were present? The last meeting?
That was yesterday.
Yes, yesterday.
Okay. Myself, Omar, Okiru, then sometime before we closed, Dr. Best came, and then he had to announce that he may not be regular anymore.
Okay. Okay, no problem. Thank you. Okay, so let's move on to the next group. Icons. Icons.
Yeah, good evening, everyone.
How are you?
Yeah, so my name is Rebecca. I'll be giving a report for Icons. Okay, so in Icons group, we couldn't hold our meeting this past week, generally, but we had continuous engagement on the group for those that have challenges and sharing some parts of peer review from the deliverables, which were attended to by each member. Then, of course, I also reach out to every member individually, and then everybody's trying to catch up with the program, although it's a bit challenging for some to cope along with their everyday running of their business, but we are pushing. One of our group member requested to drop off the program because of his the commitment for his company currently. He has also sent in an email and then hope to hear from the directors just to inform you. For others, we are catching up.
Okay, thank
Basically,
you.
dealt with the deliverables. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move on. Captains. Captains.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, James, loud and clear.
Okay.
So,
So first of all, I would like to apologize for last week. I was deceived by my my calendar. I was still using the calendar that says 6 p.m. So I was thinking the class was on 6 p.m. So I missed the update of last week. So this week we were informed that two of our members, Waju and Tara, has been dropped out from the program. And we had a meeting on Thursday. That was mainly what we discussed. We encouraged others in the group that if they have any issues, they can bring it up so that we can help them solve them, so that they will not be dropped out like the others. And we also try to find out the reasons why the others were dropped out. Okay, so we set another meeting on Friday, but we only had 2 people on attendance, so we had to move the meeting to Saturday morning. And on Saturday morning, everybody was on attendance. We discussed about the deliverables of the week, and after that, we set up another meeting on Monday, which we used to get updates from every other person on the group. So I sent the mail for the meeting on Thursday, but I haven't sent the mail on the meeting on Monday. I'll do that. Then also we one of our group members called to our attention that the captains group had the highest rating for now, and you know, we are so happy to hear that. So we spent a lot of time helping one of our members. I'm not sure she would be here, Miss Stella, on trying to figure out how to do her deliverables. And I had a call. She called me and she was telling me that she wasn't able to do that, so she will not be coming at the meeting. So earlier I sent a mail. Either the last meeting or the last 2 meetings we've had, one of our members, Ajiju, had issues with his portal. I sent a
Yes,
mail.
I'm here.
To,
I'm here. I'm
okay,
here.
Miss Stella is here.
okay, Stella, you're here.
I've been here. I've been around even before you joined.
Okay, great.
Okay. So I'm sorry for that. I thought they would allow it. Okay, so on the I sent an email concerning Mr. Ajiju. He missed either a class or 2. I haven't gotten a response to the mail. He said his portal had issues and he communicated with either Catherine, I think it's Catherine, and they told him that they would sort it out. And later he wasn't allowed to the group because he said he uploaded his deliverables, but he was told that they didn't see his deliverables. So I raised the issue so that the founder institute can look at this portal to resolve the issue. Okay, aside from that, everything is going well.
Okay. So for your group, I need James, get in touch with Stella and let's get that. She has some issues, so I'm sure she'll discuss with you guys. Get it straight in. If you can't, then you reach out to me, please. Huh? Okay.
Okay.
So next group, masters. Masters.
Yes, we are here. Good evening, everyone.
Okay.
I can see,
great.
Ekele on
Okay,
board
so let.
and then Christian Efone on board.
Yes.
The masters group, Ezekiel was supposed to be here, but I think he's trying to be around now. He's trying to come in, but I've not seen him yet. In any case, we had quite a few meetings, and then even apart from the meetings too, we do have these frequent calls, talk to one another on how to go about the assignments basically, and also to making sure that we meet up with all that is required. And then the concerns that we had in the assignment, we exposed to one another, and we've been discussing and then moving forward. So I think at the moment, we had no serious issues in our group. And then I think when Ezekiel is on board, he's going to submit our reports normally through the emails.
Okay, great. Your last meeting, how many of your team members were present?
I think our last meeting, Christian was around, Ekele was present, I was present, Ezekiel was present in our last meeting.
Okay, so that's about 4 present. Okay, and let's move on to the corporates. Yes, corporates. I saw God's will.
Right.
Corporates.
My president is not around.
Okay, so who's going to be reporting?
I can't find any other members.
So that simply means Kingsley, you do the reporting there. Okay, so go on.
I mean, for us, it has really not been an easy ride. It has been. I think we are beginning to see what we're told during the orientation, how the sprint is all about. Although we could not hold any official meeting on Saturday as scheduled, but we had some conversation on the phones. The challenge we are having really is the challenge of time. Meeting up with the deliverables within the 1 week, combining it with our primary responsibility at our place of work, it's really hitting hard on us. So, but we have been talking, discussing how we can go around that challenge, because we believe that this program is important and we have to give it the utmost best. But that is actually our challenge, time to meet up with the deliverables. We are still discussing about that. We've not been able to get a concrete solution yet, but we have been engaging that conversation.
I'm actually wondering, what solutions are you expecting to get? Extension of 24 hours in a day, or what? Or cancellation of assignments? Which one is it going to be?
We don't know yet, but we'll continue to push ourselves harder.
Okay, I think that would be the solution. Push yourself harder, and I'm sure you get around to it. Right now, I see just you alone on this call. I think I saw Newman. Who else? You're the only one on the call tonight.
Yes. I've scanned through. I saw that. I'm really
last week it was just you, Godwin, and Fualagba that were in. Okay, so just you on the call tonight. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Group Heads. Great presentation. I would encourage us to connect more you understand yourself, you understand your business, and support yourself. Some groups aren't doing so well. I would have given thumbs up to the group who was, but captains already identified themselves as the ones with the highest rating. So thumbs up to you guys. We hope to see more support from those groups who are lagging behind. I would advise you to, brace up. If some people can do it, it means everyone can do it. So brace up. So we'll move on quickly in tonight's session. We're done with that. Now we'll be going to the hot seat presentation. I have 10 people to present, but I'm going to strike off some people. I'm sure if you were at the back end, you'll notice. So I'll give you an advanced notice right now. Lola, I don't see your deliverables. I don't see anything. I don't know what you would present. So I'll be replacing you with someone else. And so I'll be doing that as we go on. Now, I'd like to tell us some things about tonight's 1-minute pitch. You have 1 minute, and Catherine will be sharing the pitch deck to us on the screen shortly. And now your 1 minute, your pitch is now expanded. It's expanded. You see that the things that have been added to your pitch are things that if you're doing your assignments properly, you would actually be able to do that pitch, the pitch properly. So you see things like understanding the value of the market, the value the market has to your business. You see things like your understanding your competition and what makes you different from them. So those kind of things that should be included in your pitch tonight. This current state of your business or your product, the level you are right now. And then this is a point where you now tell them what you actually want. So that's a pitch, 5 things there. You have just 1 minute and you need to talk about your business quickly. The problem you're solving, what makes you different, talk about the market also, the market you're competing in. You give us competitors, maybe 1 or 2 of them, and then what makes you different from these 2 people. And then currently, what are you at and what are you doing? And what are you asking for? So that's where we are right now. So I'll move on, and I'm assuming, I shouldn't assume, but I'm sure that we're all ready because I'll be taking random selection. You will be notified, but I'll be knocking off some people from presenting tonight. So who is going off the block first? Let's start tonight with Rashid Aliu. Rashid, are you ready? Rashid, are you on call tonight?
Yeah, I am on call.
Okay, you're the first one off the block. Are you ready?
Okay.
And your 1 minute starts now.
My company, Naligoin Renewables, is developing excuse me, please, let me start one again, please.
Rashid.
Sir?
Rashid.
Sir?
Rashid.
Sir? Sir?
You had a comment. Compose yourself. Now, why I'm actually going to allow this was I was supposed to inform the mentor who would take your who's going to do review for you beforehand. So that's why I'm going to stop you. If not, I wouldn't have allowed you to stop and start again. So please, Rashid, be ready, and we'll be taking a review from Bade Aluko. We'll be taking review from Bade Aluko. So Rashid, get off the block. Your time starts now.
Hi, my name is Rashid. My company, Naligoin Renewables, is developing a novel biotechnology solution called Loopbox to help replace conventional local septic tank, popularly called sockaway, in Waterloo community to solve water contamination, disease outbreak, and improve energy access. With our solution, our customers have the benefits of an AI app that helps detect early disease. We compete in the growing market of septic wash innovation and improving energy access with a market evaluation of $4 billion naira. with an estimate of about serving 5,000 customers across our beachhead market. With similar product to the Olivet and better future technology, but our solution is different with our remote function monitoring system that allows us.
Thank you. Thank you. Your 1 minute ended there. Hi, buddy. Let's have Rashid with feedback. Let's have Rashid with feedback. Oh, is Buddy in? I saw Buddy. Buddy.
Buddy is not in.
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry. Buddy isn't in. Okay, so Salisu, will you help with that, please? And also mentors, please, even if you're not giving feedback on any of the founders, you could also drop comments for them and also use the written link to read them. So let's have feedback from Salisu. 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 Oops. Am I on? I know he's been trying to connect with his devices. Salisu. Okay, Gite, sorry. I would have to fall back on you.
Take off my.
Thanks a lot.
Rashid, you did a fantastic job. It's cool that we can't. I didn't realize that we do the 1 to 5 also with the founders. I thought you did a great job. If I was to be fair, I would give that pitch a 2. It wasn't what I wanted to hear. It wasn't particularly clear, and there was no confidence. There was no confidence in the pitch. So I think you do need a little bit of work. Maybe you slow down a bit and you try and be a bit relaxed when you're pitching, right? Don't just try and get to the very end of it. Yeah, I know it's 1 minute. I know it's not a lot of time, but try as much as possible to slow down and use your tone to really let some emotion come across. Because what I heard was you just rushing through pitch. In all honesty, I put notes down. I didn't even know it was Badir that was going to answer. But from the top of my head, all I can remember was something to do with the soccer way, right? Which means, and I was paying attention. I put the pen down to take notes. So I think you slow down, and clarity is important. Not rushing to the end is not as important as the person you're speaking to having a clear understanding of what it is you're pitching.
Thank you, Bite. So next founder up, let's have Oluwafemi Sierra. Oluwafemi Adeleke.
Okay, good. Can you hear me?
Are you there? Okay, great.
Okay.
And then we'll have feedback.
Okay. My
okay, hold on there. Hello, we'll have feedback from Shayed.
Okay.
Shayed Bashir. Okay. So, are you ready?
Yeah.
So your time starts now.
Okay, my company Sierra is developing a decision intelligence solution to help the tech-driven businesses solve the problem of unreliable data with our secret sauce of providing swift emergency response in the area of health and security. We're competing in the green data market, which last year was valued at the rate of $434 billion value for the market. We're similar to area by Town Talk and also Morning Consult in the US. But one of our great differentiator is the emergency response service that we offer. So when people report their issues, we can close the gap when the government agencies are not closing out those gaps. Currently, we have our MVP, and we are launching by the end of this month. and we're looking for, sorry, I'm driving, just ran to park. So we're looking for investors to help us scale this and get this idea to achieve what we aim to achieve, adding value to life in Nigeria and Africa and the world at large.
Thank you. Your time is up. Femi, please, next time you need to pitch out, really, I will not pick you if you're driving. That's wrong. Please do not do that again. Shaya, please help with the feedback for him.
Yeah, hi, Femi. For the pitch. I think the thing that I missed was your defined audience. You said data-dependent companies or something like that. That wasn't quite clear. I think you need to get probably drive down to something more catchy and something more relatable that the average person instantly understands, because that's what the industry you're in, right? Like, so after listening to that, I wasn't quite sure what your company does, but I'm sure you'll keep working on it and you keep getting better.
Okay, thank you for that feedback. Great. So take note of your feedbacks and make corrections. Okay,
What
so
is the rating?
Okay, so founders, please, you could also give ratings and also use a rating link, but it would be good if you rate them. We have ratings from mentors, sorry. Mentors, you have ratings from 1, 2, you'd observe no 3. So we don't want the middle ground, 1, 2, 4, and 5. So you just include what ratings you want. 1, that's awful. Bad, it means that, you know, needs a lot of work. 4, you know, it means, you know, let's talk about you. You know, I will be interested in becoming an advisor. And then 5 is amazing. So just help with one of those ratings. Okay, so next off the block is Ola Abraham. Ola Abraham. I will be getting feedback. I think I have a scarcity of mentors tonight. Lydia, I think I have just 2 mentors, right? Okay, so I'll take it. Okay, so Ola Abraham, are you there? Ola Abraham. Ola Abraham isn't there. Okay, so we'll also take we'll take Okiroro. Are you ready?
Tayo is there.
Okay, Salisu Uba is back. Great. Okiroro.
Tayo is also there.
Okay, Tayo is there. Great.
Tayo
So, okay, Okiroro, are you ready? We'll take feedback from Salisu. Okiroro, we'll take feedback from Salisu. Are you ready, Okiroro? Your time starts.
I am.
Okay, your time starts now. Shoot.
The founder of Micheli Engineering Integrated Services, a rooftop solar energy provider in Nigeria. Over the years, our potential customers, small and medium-scale enterprises, and low-income earners are faced with drastic socio-economic decline due to high cost of tariff and little or no supply of electricity. They have also deployed the conventional fossil fuel engine to solve their problem, which is expensive to use and to maintain. We are providing a clean solar rooftop energy system that will help our potential customers solve their problems and help them to save 85% of their monthly energy costs, and also give them a platform whereby they buy our solar energy products and pay in installments while they earn. We compete in a $300 million global market, and our competitors are the green power and the solar force. We are looking for investors who could invest in our projects and kickstart our projects.
Thank you. Right on time. Okay, Salisu, you want to give us feedback for him and also rate him?
Yes, probably I'll rate it 2. I don't want to be in between. If you can hear me.
Okay, can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you clearly.
Oh, okay. Okay. I think there is need for more clarity because I was literally thinking about whether because 2 things were mentioned. You have the technology and of course the platform. So is it going to be a energy as a service model? How does it work? I mean, in Africa, we have huge challenges in terms of implementing this kind of solutions. What's really really the motivating factor for you to get this into a commercial state and perhaps thinking about generating huge success? So I really need to know more about it, and hopefully to see how, you know, we can develop this idea to a reasonable standard.
Okay, thank you, Salisu. Okay, so let's move on now. Akinlabi Akimbo. Akinlabi Akimbo, are you there?
I'm here, but I'm driving. Oh.
So can you park?
Hello, sir. Okay, okay. Okay, let me look for a convenient place to park.
Okay, so
Just
I'll
give me
get back
like
to you. I'll
okay,
get back
sir.
to you. Just
okay, sir.
Thank you for giving us that information.
Thank you.
Okay,
sir.
so let's move to the next person. I think I see Kristen smiling there. Kristen, how are you? Kristen Efone, how are you?
Hi, Shego, I'm fine. I'm here.
Okay, great. So I'm sure you're ready for me. You're smiling, right? Okay, great.
I'm ready.
And you'll be getting feedback from Tayo. Tayo, how are
Okay.
you? Tayo will give you feedback. Okay, so your time starts now.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Christian, the founder of Effipress Nigeria Limited, and I'll be talking to you about our products. First of all, pipeline vandalization is a major challenge that has plagued the Nigerian oil and gas industry for ages, which has given rise to increasing accumulated loss of oil revenue and depletion of the nation's reserve, considering the fact that crude oil has been the mainstay of the nation's economy in recent years. And this is why my company, Effipress Nigeria Limited, is developing a pipeline vandalism solution to help companies in the mainstream and downstream sector of the oil and gas industry of Nigeria that make use of pipeline for transportation of products to solve the problem of pipeline vandalism using an automated response system that is driven by artificial intelligence and Internet of Things. Now we compete in the growing market with a market size of about $47 billion, and we are similar to competitors of like Optasense and Brillasoft. But one key feature that differentiates us from the market is that we are deploying 3 modules, which makes use of one, the optical module, which has a vision. We have the perimeter module, which also.
Thank you, Kristen. I cut you off there. So your 1 minute was over. Tayo, can we have feedback for him and rating? Feedback and ratings for him.
This one is tough to do because the man he didn't even get to the meat at all. So the rating is a moot point, actually, because he was talking about Internet of Things, artificial intelligence. Those are the right approaches to tackle pipeline vandalism problem. But then he didn't talk about drones as well. So I think it's a very valid solution he's providing, and it requires significant amount of work because of the environment in Nigeria in terms of internet connectivity and download speed, data rates, and the likes. But it is a valid solution. So the score is, of course, 2. But it is something worth pursuing. I'm working with somebody here in Canada who is doing something similar.
Okay, great. So I suppose, Tayo, you'll be setting up office hours. Kristen, make sure you connect with Tayo. He probably didn't want to give you a 4.
I'll do that, definitely.
Okay, so connect with him. Okay,
thank you so much.
So let's move on to the next mentor. Akinlabi,
Yes,
are you ready?
I'm ready now.
Okay, so you'll be getting feedback from BT. Akilabi,
Okay.
and BT will be giving
Yes,
you
sir.
feedback. So, are you ready?
I'm ready now.
Your time starts now.
I am Akinlabi Akimbo, founder CEO of Luptel International Limited. My company Luptel is developing energy generation to power telecom sites using automated solar and biogas power generation solution to help network operators increase network availability while also reducing cost of operation by about 60%. Our solution also saves the environment from noise and smoke pollution, as many telecom operators deploy fossil fuel generators on site. Our use of gas generator will be minimal for days when there will be no sunlight. By adopting our solution, operators don't have to tie down capital expenditure for site power needs. And operations uses the business model that is very, very comfortable and is at home with them. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you there. BT, you want to give him feedback?
Thank you very much for that, Akinlabi. I like the pace. I got a lot of the information from it, but it just wasn't exciting, right? Akinlabi, it would be a 2 for me because it wasn't exciting. And what I mean by that, when I say things like that, use super innovators. I'm sure we're all familiar with, Beyonce is arguably maybe not be the best singer, right? But she presented her opportunity to someone who, signed her up. So my point is, what I'm getting at with that is that it's imperative that we use that 1 minute to express, because it's only a minute, there are only a certain amount of words, right? There's a certain sort of passion that comes out with the tone. I know this is still early stages and it just seems as if we're just reading through it, but there has to be passion, right? You can't just read through a solution. But I think it was clear. I think it was, if I was to give judgment, unfortunately, I'll give it a 2. But it's not something that would move me to invest. I would just look at it as, okay, yes, that's a good idea. That's a good concept. But if startup companies across the continent or across Nigeria, you can see how it's going to be very easy for someone to pick something else based on that presentation. But Akinlabi, I thought you did a good job. There's there's still a bit of work that can be done to.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Hey, you want to say something? I see your hand up.
I want to ask him if he has considered latency with his solution, because biogas and solar, on paper, they are the right approaches for a microgrid solution. But then in the Nigerian environment and the kinds of issues we've got with energy generation and transmission over the years, I'm not sure Nigeria is ripe for biogas. I'm not convinced it's right. Solar, yes, that's right. Solar with gas, but biogas, I don't know. Just a thought.
Might be way too early.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's move on. What's going next? Mariam Shiu. Mariam. I will be taking feedback from Shea.
I will. Okay.
We'll be taking feedback from Shea. So, Mariam.
Okay, good evening.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay.
So, Bamuskai.
Go on, your time.
Bamuskai Energy plans to sell gas in form of LPG, CNG to all forms of vehicle owners. We also want to offer vehicle conversion center to help retrofit petrol tanks to dual fuel system that will give flexibility to vehicles to switch for either petrol to gas. We are in the niche market because less than 10,000 vehicles in Nigeria currently use gas as fuel. Competition is from AGO and PMS sellers. But gas will definitely contribute to the reduction of carbon emissions. So this is a plus for us. We are now at the stage where we are collating our potential customers and working through our marketing strategy. What we are looking for is support in terms of funding for the distribution of gas in this manner, and also technical.
Thank you, Mariam. Thank you. I love the easy way you went about it. Great. Okay, so feedback from Shea.
Okay, Mariam, thanks for the pitch. I think you covered most of what you wanted to say, which is good. I think the delivery could also have been a bit crisper, you know, like hitting the notes. I got a clear sense of what you do. What I wonder is if emissions is enough of a hook to an investor. And I think you need to work on that particular content to having a clear hook to the investor. And yes, of course, some might be, you know, like motivated by climate or, you know, type of reasons for investing, but there always has to be some other hook. So I think you should work on that. Overall, since there's no middle ground, I'll still fall at 2. Although I would have been closer to 4, but then in reality 3. So you fall back to 2.
Okay, thank you. So let's move on to the next founder quickly. Musa Audu. Is Musa on call? Okay, Musa Audu. Are you ready?
I am, Mr. Shegun. Thank you very much.
Okay, your time starts now.
Good evening. My name is Musa Audu. I'm the co-founder of Enix Autotech. Enix Autotech is developing a green mobility system where we deploy e-scooters and electric vehicles to controlled environments like university campuses and large housing estates. We intend to create cheaper mobility system within congested university environments and some estates. What we intend to achieve by this is to leverage on the large population of students and create cheaper transportation fares. We'll also be helping the environment by reducing noise pollution and other emissions. We're competing in a large market of transportation. Our major competitors are the campus shuttles that we have around in both.
Thank you, Musa. Your 1 minute just went out. Okay, so let's get feedback from Salisu. Feedback from Salisu. Salisu hasn't been bumped out again. Oh, he has. Oh no, Salisu, feedback from you, please.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Trouble
I noticed that. Sorry about that. Okay.
Yeah.
So, were you able to listen to Musa's pitch, or you were cut off?
Come again?
Were you able to get Musa's pitch?
No.
Okay, in that case, you do the next one. Tayo, did you get a hold of Musa's pitch?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Feedback point, please, and rating.
Thank you, Musa. The rating will be 2. And it's mainly because I have major doubts about the size of the market. The electronic mobility market is very tight. And even in our nation, in Nigeria, it's still fledgling. The adoption, I don't think I don't think the market is ready for it, because if you imagine an average Nigerian who is in the university, who is in a hurry to get to exams or to lectures, for instance. He won't hail e-scooter. I mean, he would rather jump on an Okada. So your unique selling proposition has to be so good that the change of heart and mind will be organic. And my opinion, we're not ready for that yet. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. It's a good idea. It's progressive, but I don't know about the market. He needs to really do deep dive on the market. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Musa, that's for you, deep dive on the market. Okay, so next person on the call will be Godswill Ofulagba. Godswill Ofulagba. Godswill. Godswill. Godswill not, okay, yeah, Godswill isn't around. Okay. So let's move on to Paul. Paul Ogunedo. Paul Ogunedo. Paul.
Good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. I will be getting, okay, we'll be getting feedback from Salisu. Get feedback from Salisu. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
So your time starts now. Sure.
My name is Paul Ogunedo, co-founder, Africa Wealth Initiative. My company, Africa Wealth Initiative, is developing integrated modular renewable energy centers to help smallholder farmers reduce post-harvest loss and improve productivity with agro-processing and storage as a service. We compete in the growing Africa energy market, which last year was a $100 billion value market. We're similar to Axol and Mandilis energy companies, but we are differentiated by our modularity and our integration with technology. Currently, we have over 400 smallholder farmers and 50 SMEs ready as to be off-takers of our solution. We are looking for $1 million to design our prototype and be able to develop this solution across African countries.
Your time went out there. Thank you. Okay, so feedback for you from Shea. From Salisu, sorry. Hope Salisu was still in the call.
Yeah, I think I think it's an interesting area, perhaps. But I think one key thing that we need to really emphasize is you just made mention of a modular technology. How do you intend to build the technology? Do you have a patent for the concept, or is there any partnership or any collaboration that you have with an existing technology provider, or how does that really work in the sense? And I believe for you to achieve that, there is a component of probably a product, not just the technology itself. And to me, that is not clear. So, but I like the idea, and it's something that I am involved in, particularly in Scotland, where we have a lot of agricultural technology development. So perhaps it's going to be too interesting, but it will require a lot of work to be done. So I'm happy to know where you are and what can be done. So this could be in between 2 and 4, if you like. So
you'd have to give him one. Okay, great. We'll move on to the next founder, Japhet. I see Japhet in the room. I know I saw Japhet in the room. Yeah, you're up next.
I'm quite available.
You're very available.
Yes, sir.
So are you ready to go?
Yes, I'm good.
Okay, your time starts. We'll get feedback for Japheth from Share. Share will give Japheth feedback. So are you ready?
Yeah.
Your time starts now.
Yes. My company, Feasibility Giant Company Limited, is a consultant software engineering company. And so particularly, we are developing a software that is going to, for utility in the oil and gas industry. Stakeholders will be able to bring up designs at workplace. And then our secret sauce basically is that this time around, it's not going to encumber the stakeholders with any syntactic or any kind of coding complexities. They'll just go into the system, see familiar notations at their workplace, and bring up the designs. And
Am I the only one who can't hear Japheth?
We can't hear him again.
Yeah, me
No,
neither.
you're not. Japheth, I think it's Japheth, your internet is freezing. Oh, I think it was bumped out anyway. It was bumped out. Okay, so let's move on. Let's move on. I think it's been bumped out. Or Japheth, are you still in? Is it in? Is it back in? Okay, so we'll move on. And I was just looking at the list of those founders who have pitched tonight, and I'm getting really feeling a very funny way about being having some gender balance. So I knocked off Lola before, but Lola, I think I'm going to make you pitch. I see your assignments. You've started catching up anyway. So Lola, are you ready?
Am I done?
Jeffrey, you're back. Okay. Just so that the mentor can you start? Can you start again? You froze. Can you start again?
Yeah. No,
okay, your time starts now.
We are building a software for the oil and gas industry, basically for bringing up designs, physical components of a pipeline system, for example, and then maybe they'll got a proof of concept for a project. They can bring up the designs at the workplace. And this one now, you're not going to do any coding. It's just going to look at simple familiar notations and bring up the designs without any coding encumbrance at all. We're also incorporating the aspect of quantifying spills. In case there's any spill, it can be quantified to avoid local communities claiming and counterclaims issues that arise in the oil and gas industry in Nigeria. And that can also cause quite a lot of restiveness in the environment. We're also looking at how we can monitor pilfering of critical assets. And then drones can be built to fly to monitor and give feedbacks. That's the kind of software we are building for the oil and gas industry. And then, to be honest, at this moment, we are building the prototype.
Thank you very much, sir. Your time is up. Your time is up. Thank you, sir. So we'll get feedback from Shaya.
Okay, thanks, Japheth. I think to understand what you were saying, I needed to ask several questions. And I think that beats the purpose of the pitch. You were talking about so many things. You're throwing out a lot of information. So, for example, all I knew is that, okay, you're doing something with software development, and it will not involve coding. But how exactly that relates with the oil industry, it's not exactly clear. So I think you can condense what you're saying, have some crisp, very clear lines that really encompass what you're doing. So you just have to condense what you're saying. So overall, I'll give it a 1.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so Lola Woshika, are you ready to pitch? Okay, Tayo, you wanted to give some feedback to him also?
Yes, please. I think he needs to pause on his project and scan the landscape. And I say that because you have ChatGPT 4.0, ChatGPT 4.1, ChatGPT 5.6, yada, and the purview of technology and its growth is such that it will morph to a level whereby significant numbers of coding and coders will be redundant very, very quickly. He said his technology does not require coding. Is it open source? If it is open source in the oil and gas industry, that will not fly. Of course, cybersecurity is a very huge concern in the industry. Everybody guards their architecture like hawks. Then the solution he's offering, from where I see it, I can get any of my engineers to use Visio or Primavera or any of the other tools from Schlumberger or Halliburton to achieve the same thing. That's based on my understanding. So the man needs to pause and scan the environment and find out what the threats are to his solution before diving too deep into the work. My 2 cents.
Thank you, sir. Pause, deep dive, and check. So the last founder for tonight's pitch, Lola, I repeat for the last time, are you there? Are you ready? Lola Awoshika, are you ready? Okay, so I'm still scanning around for a female. Tony Yusuf. Tony Yusuf.
Hello, sir. I'm here, sir.
Okay, great. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
And you'll be getting feedback from BT. Tony Yusuf, shoot. Your time starts now.
My company, Marketers Energy and Energy Efficiency Limited, is developing household electricity generator for lower middle income families of 5 to meet their domestic electricity need with affordable, reliable, clean energy and knowledge of energy efficiency and energy efficient behavioral change that will empower families to reduce their energy consumption, reduce their carbon emission, thereby saving energy and saving the planet. I am uniquely qualified to take this, to give sustainable power, prosperity, productivity, and peace to families through this renewable energy, because I am a certified solar system.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Tony. So let's get the final feedback from BT.
Thank you very much for that, Tony. And Shegun, I was going to ask in terms of what I've been doing. You know, I've been giving comments on the pitch, not necessarily the idea or the concept, right? It's the way it's presented. So in this case, I'll take addressing from Tayo, and I would give my comments on the pitch and my comments on the idea.
Okay, great.
I didn't particularly like the pitch. It was a bit all over the place, right? I did gather the fact that we're doing household electricity. I did gather generator and domestic recycling energy, but it was just a bit all over the place. So I would say you should go back into doing the pitch, practicing with the 1 minute so it's a bit clear. With regards to the opportunity, obviously, because I didn't get very clear from the pitch, I might have missed what I think the opportunity is. But if I'm not mistaken, it's a generator for household electricity. And if I was going to use Tayo's analogy, I believe we're moving away from that, right? I believe the sort of technology we're looking for is to avoid using generators. So I don't know how, I don't know if we're at the end of that sort of thing, you know. So from an idea point of view, I would say you should research the market and see what other people are doing with regards to providing efficient energy for households. But overall, it might just be that I've missed something because there was no clarity in the pitch.
Thank you.
And since it's the last one, I'm sure a couple of other mentors will say something. But what I would add, again, Shegman, that was the thing that I wasn't clear about, that if it was the pitch or if we had to also judge on the idea and the concept. In my opinion, for most of the pitches I've heard today, it was really the pitch I was concentrated on. I wasn't really paying that much attention into the idea. Yeah, what I would say to everyone here, based after listening to the pitches, is most importantly you're a member of the Founder Institute because there's something they have found or something they have seen in you or the idea or the concept. It's imperative that it's your idea, it's your concept. So you live that idea, your concept, and you breathe energy and life into it. Now, it's not always the best person that wins. We all know life is very unfair. Investors that are investing in your opportunities, right? It's not as if everyone's a genius. They're looking for something. We're all looking for something. We're looking for something that will spark my interest, right? A number of the companies that receive funding are not necessarily better than you, but they've been able to present their idea, right? If I don't understand the idea, then I can't invest, even if it's the best idea in the world. And that's what you're trying to do, right? So we'll just keep trying it over and over again till we're good at it. So don't take any of the negatives that has been said to you today as a bad thing. It's important for you to go back and work. It's for 1 minute, you speak to someone for 1 minute, and within that minute, someone hears something that's really interesting, meaning that your idea has been put together well, and there's some sort of excitement. There's something in that 1 minute that they want to hear more. That's the whole point why it's 1 minute, right? So you don't have to load everything on, just enough to excite the person or the investor that the investor wants to hear more, right? So you can leave out a lot of stuff and just pack that 1 minute in with all the things that you think would be exciting, all the things that would express the opportunity in its best way, right? Because that 1 minute is to get you another minute. You know what I mean? The investor is not going to invest on that 1 minute. They're not writing you a check on the 1 minute. The 1 minute is for you to stimulate the person's mind, some sort of excitement that they want to hear more. Okay. So on that note, like I said, it doesn't mean the idea or whatever is not fantastic. We just got a bit more work to do.
Thank you, Vite. So we're ending the pitch presentation session. I see some of you just coming in. Ola, I don't know, I didn't see you when you were supposed to be called up, but so we still have more weeks to pitch. And the whole essence of this is it's going to go round. Everyone is going to pitch at one point or the other. And also I encourage you to book office hours. Office hours this week and subsequently. We focused, even from beginning, we focused on your pitch. I would really want us to work on our pitch. I had some people who had presented to me tonight, and I wasn't impressed because, I just like Vite said, I know the idea, but there was a lot of jittering in your presentation. So even if your idea is good and you're jittery about it, you're not going to get the next call. So work on your presentations, work on yourself, and let's get this ship moving. So we'll go on now to the core area for tonight, which is our mentor presentations. We'll be having presentations from, I see Bade probably isn't available, probably on trip or something. We'll be having presentations from our mentors, Salisu, Tayo, Vite, and Sheye in that order. Salisu, Tayo, Vite, and Sheye in that order. We'll be having between 5 to 10 minutes presentation each. So Salisu, are you ready? I know you've been having some challenges with the network. Salisu, ready? Okay, I don't see him in the room. I think he was cut off eventually. Okay, so So Tayo, are you ready for us, your presentation?
Yes, I'm ready, but do I need to present?
Yes, if you want to. If you have
Okay.
slides to present, fine. If not, you could just make it an audio presentation.
I think I have a potpourri of slides that I can speak to.
Okay, okay. So you want to share them or you
Yes.
just speak directly from them? You want to share?
Yes,
Okay.
I'd like to share them.
Okay, Catherine, make that happen, please.
Yes, you can.
Okie dokie.
You can share.
My screen. Right. Can you see my slides now?
Not yet.
But did you see my screen? Let's see.
Okay, we see your screen now.
But it's just loading here. It's processing. Okay. You can see my screen now, I guess.
Yes, we see your screen now. Great.
And you said I've got 4 minutes.
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okie dokie. I'll cut to the chase. So this is outline. I'll speak about business model overview. I'll hone in on understanding of the revenue model and the elements of a usable revenue model. This one I've spent 5 minutes. Inform me.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okie dokie. So what's a business model? The business model is pretty much the central nervous system of any business. The business model shows or gives an indication of the logical connections and the way in which a company generates value for its customers. And the business model can take different shapes and forms. Now, it's different from the revenue model. The revenue model describes the structure of how that company generates revenue or income, and each customer segment can contain one or more revenue streams. For the sake of brevity and...
Sorry, Tayo, you need to open the folder. We're just seeing folders. Sorry.
Are you serious?
Yes, we're not seeing the
But it says I'm sharing screen. Okay, let's see.
We're only seeing your folders.
Can you see the screen now?
Okay, yes.
Yes, your screen is coming up. Yeah.
Okay. So can you see the slide that has business model and revenue model?
Yes, we see that. Yeah.
And I think I already spoke to that. Or do you want me to repeat?
Yes. Thank you.
Oh, she said yes, I should repeat. Okay, so the business model pretty much describes in a holistic manner the logical connections and the way in which a company generates value for its customers. Now, the company can run on any number of business models. It's an organic thing, because as a company develops its core offering and as it grows, it can develop a ladder of values And based on that ladder of values, the company would realize different customer segments and different revenue streams. Now, the revenue model just describes how that company generates revenue or income based on the value it creates per customer segment. So pretty much the revenue model is a core component of the business model. I always say it's the central nervous system with a connective tissue to every aspect of the business. If the revenue model is wrong ab initio, then it means the business is dead on arrival. So founders need to put in the work to ensure that they have a viable business. Now, I'm just showing this to elaborate the fact that there are different kinds of business models: brokerage, advertising, merchant model, affiliate, community model, subscription, utility. For the purpose of this presentation, I'll be using Uber because I think it's very simplistic. So I'll go on. I'm sure all the founders are familiar with the business model canvas and they've used it. I always find this very useful because it allows brainstorming and it helps narrow my focus at the beginning of any venture. And pretty much what you want to do is you want to start with the value proposition. So you ask yourself, why am I saving the world? What is different about my offering? Who do you want to help? How do you help your target or core customer? And how do you relate with them? And how do you reach them? What do you need to reach them? Who will help you? What leverage can you activate? When you've answered all of those questions to a reasonable level, Christ says that you must count the cost before you do anything. So you want to interrogate your cost structures. What will it cost to produce a unit? What will it cost to get the business to whatever level you want to get to? And how much will you make? So the simple math is how much will you make minus how much will you cost. Simplistically tells you if your business is going to fly or it's going to die. Now, the revenue models for a startup, you could use a product or service free model and gain revenue from ads. You could adopt a freemium model, a cost-based one. You may focus on value depending on the segment. Subscription is very popular. The product may be free and you charge for the services. Product line pricing is another one, or volume pricing. Generally, you don't want to sell feature. You don't want to price based on feature. You want to price based on benefits. But then there are situations whereby you may want to go that route. Then, of course, you have the staggered model or the razor blade model. Then in terms of the revenue model, who pays? How do you make money? Is it always the client? No, you can make revenue from advertising, from sponsors, from your insurer. And what is it? What is paid? What do you earn in terms of revenue? Is it always money? No. Generally, people say that the next oil is data. So data has intrinsic value. Activities too is another way you can gain revenue. Then shares. Then for what is paid, is it always the product? No, you can get paid for add-ons, for results. For the case of those who are involved in very deep machine language and AI analytics, then people can pay per use or they can pay per result. Then are you always paid directly? No, I mentioned earlier, you can get paid by subscription, or someone can lease your product and they pay per month and they pay per use. Then you gain revenue also by offering training. Then you can also be paid by a credit note. Then how much is paid? Is it always fixed? No, you can go the route of dynamic pricing, volume discount, or auction. There are different types of revenue models. I left this here just as a cue for myself, so I won't go through it because I'm mindful of time, but I can share this with the founders if they so desire. Now, I talked about Uber. This is the business model canvas for Uber. And because we are talking about...
Sorry, sir. Can you go back to the last slide, please, sir? Please, sorry.
This one?
Yes.
What about it?
I just wanted to have a glimpse of it to see.
I left it there just
Sorry, founders, you can keep your questions for later. There's a Q&A session, and these slides will be shared on your platform if you need to see something specifically, so that the mentors can present, and then you ask your questions after. You could drop your questions on the chat or wait for the Q&A session. Thank you.
So for the case of Uber, cost structure, simplistically, platform development, salaries, driver payments, sales and marketing. Then in terms of its revenue streams, a pay per ride charges, search pricing, premium Uber brands. There's Uber Eats now, and they keep escalating their value ladder by the day. So, but the key is getting the platform or the business rolling, get the business sustainable, or launch a sustainable business. Once the business is sustainable, you can grow organically and your revenue streams would come. But your cost structure is the foundation. The assumptions for the very first year is key. In fact, 1 year is too long, 6 months. Now, in terms of the marketplace, you have different kinds of revenue models that you can deploy. Notice that I'm focusing on marketplace because I'm using Uber as a case study, and the marketplaces range from software as a service to a vertically integrated one. Uber, as we can see here, just like Amazon, is a very heavily managed marketplace. So depending on your offering, this is not set in stone. There are outliers even within this ecosystem, but you just have to understand the market intimately, have a very good handle on your cost structure, and you will be able to get revenue to make the business sustainable. I saw this and I liked it because it pretty much encapsulates everything about the marketplace model you can see going from low to high. Transaction complexity just means that the ease of connecting the buyer to the seller. And like I said, that Uber is good, because all you need is the drivers and you need the riders. And the first thing you want to do is you want to onboard the drivers. And when you get critical mass, you can now start onboarding the riders. So in terms of transaction complexity, it is low. The amount of data and analytics required to start off is also low. Then the asymmetry in value between supply and demand also for Uber is quite low. And that simply means the opportunity for you to upscale your delivery and to mix those deliveries. But if we look at a company, for instance, like Upwork has got a transaction complexity that is from low to medium. And it is low to medium because of the buyers and the sellers on that particular platform. But I will not muddy up the water. I'll just leave things simplistic here. Then show is over.
Thank you. Thank you, Tayo. Mentors, drop your questions or wait till the Q&A session, which comes up after the last mentor has presented. Vite, your presentation comes next. Vite, are you ready?
Yes, I am. I believe you've got it. It's not with me. Am I my screen or
share your screen?
Okay, let me get it up then.
Okay.
Are you seeing the screen?
Yes, we see your screen. Yeah.
Yep. Have we got the screen? Okay. Again, it's a pleasure to be addressing everyone here, right? To be a founder, the energy to build a company and to go out and build a company, build customers is something extremely difficult. That's only very few people that get to do it. So, you know, it's a privilege to be speaking to individuals that have come up with an idea and a concept, and they're prepared to use their energy and ability to try and make it, make it a sustainable company. I have picked, because at Odba, we predominantly invest in early stage businesses, right? Pre-seed, seed, sometimes we do ideation, but pretty much early stage. So I've picked the topic of surviving before financing. Considering we're given 10 minutes, I made it a very, very minimal presentation, sort of like spending 1 minute per slide. If I go too fast, again, the presentation will be available to everyone, and happy to take questions. I mean, there will be questions afterwards. So importantly, as I've mentioned, it is surviving before financing, right? The very early stages of a business. And in this case, how do you stay lean? You stay lean as a startup while you build your company. So the first thing we've looked at, so with most of the founders that we do work with, what we've found before they do receive financing is, importantly, the first thing is you embrace the lean startup principles. What does that mean? What are the lean startup principles? Well, it constitutes of a number of things. Things like, minimizing waste, learning from feedback from your customers, rapidly changing rapidly changing your course depending on feedback that you receive from your customers. Listening to what your customers are saying, which will enable you to do customer development. The information you do receive from the customers will let you know if you're on the right track or if you do need to pivot or change course as you go along. Now, if you think about it in its entirety, when you're starting up, it's very early stage, right? So what we're attempting to do is to test our ideas, our concepts and our principles, meaning that nothing is set in stone. You don't need to know everything at the beginning. That's the whole point of building your MVP and testing it to see what people think of it, right? So these are some of the major differences in a startup or when you're building a normal company. This way, you go from step to step very early and very quickly, communicating with your audience, right? And from that small community of your audience, you're going to be directed on whether there's a market for what it is you're attempting to build or whether there isn't a market. So it's important that we all embrace the lean startup principles. Another way of saying that lean startup principles is really ensuring that you're concentrating on what's important, right? You're focusing on creating a MVP, a valuable product that you can test as quickly as possible so you can have interaction with your clients. Now, I put the tip down there, and the tip is conduct customer interviews to validate your essential features. Now, it's very important we do this. When we're building up a company initially, we get carried away with where we want to be, all the great things which we're going to do. But what is important is you concentrate on a small group of potential customers with your MVP, and you actually use the feedback they're giving you to improve on your product. And you're considering that you've not yet raised any capital. It's important that you're frugal, you're focused when you're going through this phrase. So it's embracing the lean startup principles and focusing on your MVP so you can start getting feedback as quickly as possible from the market. Another thing which is important, especially when we're in the early stages, is time management and prioritization. What is important to you as a company? Where do you spend your time and your energy? Of course, you want to prioritize high impact tasks. The tasks that would give you the most results, right? It's not as if you're leaving everything else on the table. No, you're not. You're just concentrating on what is particularly important for your company as you build. Another thing which we say is we use the 80-20 rule. Now, the 80-20 rule is a well-known rule. It's an example of it would be 80% of the profits of a company are generally generated from 20% of the staff. Another way of looking at it, it could be 80% of the problems of general companies are caused by 20% of the business. Now, another way of looking at that is really prioritizing what's important. It's not that you're leaving everything else on the table, but you're concentrating in the very early stages on what's most important, what will give you the most amount of impact. I've dropped a tip in there. Apply the Pomodoro technique to stay focused and productive during work sessions. The Pomodoro technique is a technique to enable you focus, to concentrate in terms of when you're building your business. You're going to note from the last slide, again with this slide, that what's important for a very early stage business. It's not to get carried away. You're building an energy company, for example. It's not to get carried away with all the 20, 30 add-ons that you're going to be capable of doing, all the additional services that you're going to be capable of doing. You want to concentrate on the one or two that will enable you get traction. It's like when we're talking about that 1-minute pitch that we just had, right? The 1-minute pitch is not to pour everything out. It is to give enough to generate excitement. And this is the same case when we're talking about time management and prioritization. You want to concentrate on 1-2 things that will enable you to tell your story. Very, very important. So you don't spend a lot of your time doing things that are not important at the present. When you're an early stage business, obviously one of the things that we all want that we don't have is capital. With capital, you're able to do a number of things. It doesn't necessarily mean that you should be doing those things because you have the capital, right? There are a number of things that is capital multiplied, and that is building a strong network. I'm sure we all hear this, building a strong network, and to some people it can be overwhelming. If you haven't got a strong network, you're thinking, where do I start? Will I be successful? I'm competing against someone that has 30, 40, 50,000 LinkedIn members or is well followed on Twitter. How do I compete considering I have nothing? And in terms of how you're able to do that, I mean, social media has made it, very easy for you to reach out with an idea or a concept. It's important when you're building a strong network is to ask the right questions. Be very open with what it is you're looking for, because in most cases, a lot of people are open to share their time. They're open to give comments on ideas and concepts. The only thing that a number of people are not open to is obviously capital. So what I'm getting at is that the first thing when I'm talking to people about building a strong network, the first thing you've got to be comfortable with is being uncomfortable. The minute you're able or you're comfortable with being uncomfortable, it will be the beginning of you building a phenomenal network. What I mean by that is, all we are doing is reaching out to people, be it on LinkedIn, that we think could help us towards in building our company, right? Now, in most cases, a number of people will not ask questions because they're either embarrassed, there's the imposter syndrome, or a number of things have built up in their minds that stops them from doing this. Which is why I mean that your success begins when you're prepared to put yourself in situations where you could possibly look silly. You would be uncomfortable, right? Once you get used to being uncomfortable, another way of saying that is, when the shame or the fear leaves you, then all you're working on is your idea. And when you're building a strong network, there will be some people that will be open and warm to you, and there'll be others that will not. But that does not faze you, right? Your goal is to work and build a network of people that you think would help you in building your company. So just as it says in most religions, you knock on the door and it will be opened. You ask, the right questions, and people will pay attention to you. People will respond to you. It's something that with time you get used to, but in the age of social media, it's $1 million and over. You have access to almost every single last person in the world. The only thing stopping you is what question or what is it you want from that person? And how do I ask the question from that person? That's the only thing stopping you connecting with anybody in the world, right? Of course, the quality of your questions. And now, I'm not saying everybody will be as responsive, but I am telling you today that you have access to pretty much anyone globally. I'm not just saying Nigeria, Abuja, or Lagos, anyone globally, right? We're in this data communication age. So we should really concentrate, spend a bit of time in building our network. It works. The communities that are built, the network effect is unbelievable, especially your early stage founders. Everybody will be open to help, as long as you ask the questions and you present your opportunity or what it is you want from the person in the best possible way. You'll be able to establish mutually beneficial relationships, meaning that it's not always one-sided. You've researched the people or the individuals you want to build a relationship with. Now, it doesn't mean you've got to have something to offer the person, right? But there always has to be something in it for the person, whether it's knowledge or whether it's inviting the person to give comments on an idea. But we are all very, very capable of building networks. And building strong networks in today's age, it's really massive. A number of companies, startup companies, build a network, and after building a network, they then use the network to set up a company. And we are all very, very capable of doing it. It gets much easier to build the network with the clarity in your idea and your concept. What it is you're trying to build, the more clear you are on it, it's easier to speak to anybody about it and to engage. about it. So building a strong network is imperative when you've not yet raised financing. It's financing itself. A tip which we've put here is offer value and assistance to others in your network, and they would create the same. I'll move on to the next slide, which is smart marketing and growth hacking. Now, of course, if we had raised 500,000, 200,000, or $1 million, all we do need to do is pay, right? We pay for marketing, we pay for PR. Now, when we haven't raised capital, we've got to be very, very, very frugal and smart, because we don't have capital, as to how we grow our business, as to how we get, how the world gets to hear about our business, how we get new customers, considering that we have little capital to do this. Now, there are a number of things that we can do with little or no money at all. Of course, a majority of us are already doing that. And the first is utilizing free marketing channels, things like social media, SEOs, newsletters, emails, right? It's imperative we do this. It doesn't cost us a lot. Again, depending on the questions or the quality of the literature which you put out, you would attract attention. And the attention you're going to attract, you drag it into form a community. And it's that community, that small community that you keep engaging, is how you're able to grow and using that community to give you feedback, right? And it does not cost. It does take a bit of work, like I said, clarity in the idea and the concept, a bit of work with regards to who are you targeting. You spend some time on who are you targeting to be in this your group to provide you feedback. But once you do spend that time in doing that, it costs very little, apart from the hard work and the time and energy that has been put in, for you to start smart marketing and growth hacking. So this would be, you would be generating similar sorts of results that people will be spending a lot of capital to build their business. So these are some of the things that's very important for companies when they have not yet raised any capital. We put a tip in there: set up Google alerts for your niche to identify guest posting or collaboration opportunities. Now, I know that sounds very basic, but it goes a very long way. You set up Google alerts in any company that you admire, companies that you want to be like, or companies that you think are your competitors. One of the things that a number of people say is, if you have a clear idea as to where you want to go, you then take those baby steps gradually in getting there. And learning from competitors and businesses around you that are doing the same thing, it gives you either it adds to what it is you're doing, and it enables you to see things from another person's point of view. So that's a very cheap and simple way in informing yourself daily, weekly, or monthly as to what is going on in your sector. I will move on again, which is important, right? Very important. Financial management and alternative funding. Now, we're bearing in mind that we're making budgets on capital that's already very little, because we've not raised any money. So we have little or no money. So if we have little or no money, what's of most important is that we've got to be very strict with regards to the way we spend our kobos, right? We've got to have, there's no impulsive spending. You want to have a plan as to how every kobo is spent and what value does every kobo bring back to the startup. And that will let you know where your kobos should be spent. And as I mentioned before, using the Pareto rule of the 80-20, using strict financial discipline and listening to the feedback that it does give you will enable you direct your very limited finances in the best possible ways in the early stages of the company. A couple of other things that we should explore, especially considering we are in the energy sector, right? The clean tech, the climate tech, the entire world is trying to, we want to move forward in a more a way that would be beneficial to the globe at large. So as a result, there are a number globally. I'm sure Founders Institute would be filling you all in, but there are a number of grants that are available to people that are working in the energy sector, right? That you've got to seek out a number of other ways in which you can achieve funding, and grants is a very huge one, and this is globally. A number of grants, depending on the quality of your idea and your concept, a number of institutions, individuals are giving grants to startup founders to help them test out their thesis, to help them test out if their company could be viable. So these are extra things that we should look into. It's not just all the other ways in which we can generate capital. Of course, there's you can explore crowdfunding, whereby you can raise capital off a small or large group of people that are familiar with you or like the story. So it's looking at alternative methods rather than just going straight to a venture capitalist to receive money. Of course, there's the friends and family, which is what I'm sure most of us have done to date. But there are other ways, there are other things that we could look at while if we've not yet raised from a venture capital or we've not received any outside capital. A tip here that we've used is regularly overview and optimize your expenses to cut unnecessary costs. Remember, we've got limited capital, so we want to ensure that every kobo that is spent, it either gives us something back that we can, we can measure and see if it's of benefit to us or not. If it doesn't, then we don't spend it, right? That bear in mind that the early stages, right, that you are a kobo spent that does not give you the result you're looking for is not a bad kobo spent. It's also a kobo well spent, because that's a kobo telling you that this doesn't work and the other thing might work. Those are some of the benefits of early stage. Like, it does not have to be 100%. You are testing to see what you think works and what you think doesn't work. I will move on to the next slide, which is very important. A number of us have underestimated it for a very long time. It's becoming very important now, right? And that's your personal resilience and well-being. To be a founder, to build a company is from scratch. To have an idea, to build a company from scratch. I know it's a very sexy thing that is thrown around a lot today, but it takes a lot, right? It takes a lot of dedication. Some people work 40 hours a week and they complain. Most founders are working 60 to 70 to 80 hours a week. They're doing everything they can possibly do to bring their idea and concepts to life, right? It's what they're superhumans working on something with limited resources to build a company. In doing that, we neglect, our well-being. Yes, we are phenomenal because we're able to do things, and a number of these things do not show on the face. It's internal in the body. We're hearing a lot of burnouts, etc. So what we would say is schedule regular downtimes. I know that would be very difficult. I find that extremely difficult myself. Being a founder. But it's imperative. It's even good for the mind, right? Regular breaks now and then, where you switch off. It could be hours or it could be a day. To enable yourself refresh, recharge, right? Because a worn-out mind would just be going round and round in circles. It will not be as alert as you need it to be. You would miss things that you would normally see. So ensure that you spend time in taking care of yourself. Right? You're the engine behind the entire business, the concept. And if you're worn out, if you're tired and you're not performing at your very best, then the company will suffer. So take time to, refresh and recharge. The other thing which is extremely important is we are all constantly learning, all of us. So no matter what's, whatever VC, founder or mentor might say, we don't know it all. All we can do is give judgments on what has been presented to us, right? I've passed on a number of companies that have gone on to be $250 million companies, right? There are a number of things that I would regret doing. That's just the nature of it, right? That nobody has all the information. So I would advise that ensure that you embrace continuous learning, be up to date in your sector. Whatever is happening that is new. There was a gentleman that was giving a presentation, and Tayo mentioned, I think it was Musa, I think it was, that was talking about the motorcycles, right? Now, if you are up to date, if you're fully aware, continuous learning within your sector, or you're receiving newsletters or updates, keeping you up to speed, you're in a better position. Your idea can be improved, right? Because you know what is going on out there. You have a general feel of what is working within the sector. So it would only make you a better founder. So ensure that you spend a lot of your time ensuring that you're in the know with what goes on within your sector. It makes you more intelligent. And let me say something. This is important for especially founders that have not raised. The truth of the matter is, the more you do, the more confident you become. The more clear you are with your idea and your opportunity, the more confident you will become. Which means that confidence is not something that you can click your fingers and get. It comes with work, right? The more someone could tap you up in the middle of the night and ask you a couple of questions on your company, and you can talk about your company and your sector with ease, right? Life and business will become easier for you from that day on. People, founders, investors will gravitate to you from that day on. It's not because you've become extremely more intelligent or anything of the sort. It's just now you're a bit more focused on exactly what it is you are attempting to do, and you can explain it in clarity. So as a result, people will be attracted to you. Your confidence will increase, meaning that if you think about it, that your confidence comes about by you doing more for your business. So it's imperative and very important that you embrace continuous learning, especially when it's anything to do with your sector. So you're at the top of your game, right? With one or two lines, and bearing in mind what I was saying before, right? With one or two lines or one or two ways in which you express an understanding of your sector, that will be the difference between an investor and angel investing in your company or wanting to work with you or not. Okay. Then we also have, I'll wrap up with this, right? I've put it here as a 1-week growth sprint challenge. I know the Founder Institutes, do a number of sprint challenges, but it's worked very well for a number of our portfolio companies. And a number of companies that were on our radar before we invested in, right? So because some companies, we come across them and we really do like them, but we think it's too early. So, we just watch, right? We receive their newsletters, etc. A number of those companies, and we advised every time we do come across a company like that, we tell them from time to time, very often, to do a 1-week growth sprint challenge. And the reason for it is that it enables them hone in and identify their primary goal, right? It enables them develop an action plan that can be worked on. And not just that, they will get to find out that the kind of things that they can cover in a sprint challenge in 1 week makes them much more knowledgeable and much more confident on their business. In most cases, what is achieved within a 1-week growth sprint challenge, most companies would do it within 2 months. So it's really, really pushing the capabilities of yourself and your team to really refine your idea, be comfortable with the idea, because that's really what it is. When we're talking about survival before financing, that it's not everything you can do because you haven't got capital, but the things that you can do is ensuring that you understand your idea to the best of your ability and you can present it in the best possible way, meaning clarity. A number of the things I had said earlier on, if you think about it in its entirety, what we're talking about here is being focused, not being wasteful, concentrating on what's important. Yes, we will one day become an energy company that does solar, biomass, and all the other things. But right now, and this is hypothetically speaking, right now, I just want to concentrate on solar or a drone or whatever the case might be, right? Because I want to hone on that idea. I want to make sure it is clear, and then we can start adding things on as we go along, right? So the important thing when you're survival before financing is, it really is focus. It's focusing on what's important to the business, what is needed to ensure that the business grows, understanding that you can't do everything now, that you just concentrate on what's most important. And if we do that, you will position yourself, you'll come out of it much more knowledgeable about your company, much more confident in expressing what it is your company does. And that would definitely enable you to raise capital easier. You know, bootstrapping a company, there's the pros and cons. It works great for some people. It works great for some sectors. But what it does do, it does make you understand your company in a lot more detail, gives you a lot of clarity in presenting your opportunity. On that note, like I said, you know, it was a 10-minute call, so I thought I'd put together something really short. Thank you very much for listening to me. And what I would say is that you go out there and you amplify your voice, right? You let the world know you exist. Like I said, the minute you get comfortable, and this is really crazy, but I really mean it. The minute you get comfortable in presenting your idea and someone laughs at you or someone doesn't give you the answer you're expecting, and it does not destroy you, you don't shy away, you just keep improving, speaking to more and more people, that is what makes you get better. That's what makes you improve the pitch. That's what gives you clarity in the business. You will understand from the feedback that you're getting from the people you speak to, right? You would know where you need to make changes. So it's important that don't be quiet, right? We all have it. I still have it. We're all battling it. We all have imposter syndrome. We all feel, you know, am I enough? Is the concept good enough? The only way you get to the other side, ladies and gentlemen, is being uncomfortable. You've got to open up your mouth, and there would be people that would disagree and knock it down, but you get better doing it that way. Again, a huge thank you for listening to me. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. Shegun, back to you.
Thank you, Vite. And I was, you know, I've been swallowed up in the sessions tonight, and I know it can only get better. Founders, take notes, ask questions later, and we'll have the last mentor for tonight, share. Wow, I'm really learning a lot. Share.
Okay, yeah, so this is
Share, your audio is mute.
oh, sorry, I didn't realize I'd become muted. Yeah, so I was just saying that I hadn't had enough time after being onboarded to prepare slides, so I'll just speak extempore on some pointers around revenue models. I wasn't, the team had done any exercise around business modeling. Did they, if the cohort has done any exercise around business modeling, have they?
That's the session for the week they're going into now.
Ah, right, okay. Okay, so I mean, then I was going to draw on some concepts from that, but just basically I'll speak to the issues. I think Bite did a pretty good job of speaking to the issues of how to keep going before you actually raise money. So basically the point is a lot of founders have to do gigs. A lot of founders do, you know, just keep at their current job. It's not something you usually want to say, but that's how things actually happen a lot of the time. So a lot of the time you keep whatever it is that generates revenue for you right now to keep you going. And then you have to take on additionally continuing to work on this project. I think that's the surest thing. other than, you know, just being able to get any kind of grant or anything like that. But you know, so but what has often happened is people just do gigs, people take on assignments, people take on, you know, projects, consulting, whatever it is that, you know, they can leverage to generate revenue while they're building this business till it is ready to get their first check, to get the first money in. So from that point, I'll just speak to your revenue model in general. So what the first thing I would say is that the VC industry most recently likes a number of revenue models. Generally, there's a preference for anything that has a recurring charge, right? Like some kind of monthly recurring charge, whether that's as a subscription or whether that, like in what we've seen with a lot of these solar pay-as-you-go equipment providers, what they do is that they just have a pay-as-you-go model, and then the customer pays a certain amount every month. There's a battery startup that I've been working with in Nigeria, where what they want to do is to essentially help their customers bridge the gap between what the distribution company, so what NEPA provides, and the X number of hours that, you know, people don't have electricity from the grid, and help them bridge it by providing them batteries, actually storage. And what they're doing is just simply very simple, calculating the cost of that system over the warranted life of the system, adding a markup and then dividing it by the number of months in that battery life. So it's something as simple as that. It becomes a recurring charge, even though it's not really purely a recurring charge. And this is like that because it's very easy to model, you know, like the life or the revenue well into the future for such a business. So you just have to assume a growth rate. You have to assume, you know, like non-renewals and all of that kind of thing. And then you can get to a reasonable, or at least an acceptable estimate of what the valuation of the company should be. For energy startups, you know, what you need to do might sometimes be very different, because I'll give an example. When I was doing rooftop solar, so we're doing rooftop solar in malls, and in some government offices. We had no choice but to have some kind of power purchase agreement, right? Which is a long-term agreement which commits them to using all that power. And that's because, like, we're essentially captive. We can't direct the power that we generate, the energy that we generate. We can't direct it anywhere else. It has to be consumed at that location. And the people who we have built that thing for, you know, just have to commit to pay for it. And that kind of business model is so different from, you know, the bundled pay-as-you-go, almost kind of subscription model. So one has to pay a lot of attention in energy, especially where you're building, you know, where you have to build stuff up front, where you have to commit, you know, when you're not like a platform or whatever it is that you're producing has limited capacity. Limited capacity in the sense that, in the example I gave with the rooftop solar, if we did a 250 watts solar installation, it is limited to that 250 watts. You can't, to scale it, you need to deploy a significant amount of capital to be able to scale it beyond that. As opposed to some other businesses, you know, like you have in SaaS models, like in software as a service models, where, you know, you can, on the same platform, just keep scaling up to a certain point, right? And then you need to commit a lot of money, and then, you know, but the steps. If you looked at it as a step function, that okay, I start out at this level of revenue, and then the for capacity type businesses, the revenue stays flat. Whereas for those other kinds of businesses, the revenue model can be steep, can just be going up all the time. So, so if you're building anything substantial that requires a long time amortization, or you need to recover your costs over time, then it is very, very important to be aware that you need to have, some kind of long-term horizon. And even though I've seen a lot of solar companies, for example, the solar, your energies and companies like that, I've seen them offer pay-as-you-go type services. But in reality, what they do is they kind of lock you in. So one of the things they do is that they require you to make a prepayment, or they call it a deposit, but it's really a prepayment, right, of 2 or 3 months, so that if anything was to happen with you not being able to, you as a customer, with the customer not being able to pay on time, they are then able to, at least cover that 1 month in meeting their own obligations to whoever might have lent them money, or whatever it is they need to do to keep that business running. So I think that's a very important one, that cost recovery is fundamental. You have to bear that very strongly in mind with that kind of revenue model, and that kind of business, that kind of business model as well, where you have to build an, like a capacity, like you have to build, even in the case of somebody building pipeline protection systems, right? Like to deploy a pipeline protection system would involve maybe several hundreds of kilometers, right, of equipment that you need to go and deploy. And having deployed that, you need to be able to recover that cost and make sure that you recover that cost, and be able to recover also your cost of capital and your profit as well, within a reasonable time frame. So that's something to bear in mind. So very often the way to do this is that it takes a lot of very careful modeling. You have to, for things like that, back of the envelope is not good enough, right? Like it's very important to understand your back of the envelope. It's very important to understand like 3 or 4 drivers of what will drive what cost recovery would mean for you. But you still need very, very careful modeling of financial modeling, of what that would look like. So, there's so many business models. I think the first presentation, which I believe was Tayo's presentation, identified so many different revenue models that you could that you could be running for your business, especially if it's an energy business. I think as time goes by, as I get to know more about your individual startups, and as you start to fashion your business models, you feel free to reach out, just to sound me out on how you arrive at what your revenue model should be. So I'll just speak to a couple of other issues in identified to speak about. So one is, how do you even know your target customer? Well, there's an entire process for identifying your customer, like, and it's iterative, and there's so many different ways people go about it. When I worked in corporate world, or on Six Sigma projects, for example, master black belt projects, very often what you would do is you start from customer requirements, right? Like you go and comprehensively understand what the customer wants. So there's a gap so you take an existing market, that is being served in one way or the other, and then you go and comprehensively understand the gaps in that market. So let's take an Uber, for example, that is used ubiquitously. In the Nigerian market, InDriver came into the market, and what's the hook with InDriver? InDriver says, okay, well, instead of you take an Uber, and then the Uber driver calls to ask you, where are you going? Which is a question that I totally detest. Every time I'm asked that question, I ask them to cancel immediately. Because it just brings so much drag and friction to that process of trying to find a ride. It's a time waster, a definitive time waster. And InDrive says, okay, well, we're going to try to eliminate that by you say how much you want to pay, the driver says how much they want to take. If you find a meeting, then the ride is accepted and everything just moves quickly. And that's kind of the thing that that you do with the voice of the customer. You identify what the customer wants, and then you now build a product for it. And then you go back and then you ask the customer again, this thing that we got built, does it make any sense? The best feedback, of course, that you can always have for your customer is that you can never have is a paying customer, right? So the moment when you go pitch, which has happened to me in the past, where you go pitch something, an idea, and someone instantly says, well, if you bring that to me in 1 week, I'll pay you X amount for it. Like I'm ready to take it right now. And there's no stronger feedback than that, because at the moment when you then deliver it, of course, the challenge sometimes is the product is not really ready, not really tested. And you run the risk of, putting a product out there that doesn't quite satisfy the customer, even though the customer has expressed a strong need. That strong need can very quickly go from a strong need to strong disgust in your value proposition. So, but whichever way, you want to get it out there as fast as possible. And it needs to be something quality that satisfies the customer. And even if it doesn't, you need to be able to continue to support that customer's requirement. That, okay, yeah, you wanted me to make you an electric Keke Marwa, and here's an electric Keke Marwa. Yes, it only lasts for 30 minutes, but guess what? I'll bring a battery for you every 30 minutes so that you can run for 8 hours or something like that, right? A bit of a far-fetched example, but you get the point. And that it gives you a lot of feedback on what you need to do with your revenue model. Now, very important point about revenue model is, and about how, so your revenue, what's your revenue model? Your revenue model is how predictably the forms in which predictably your revenue will come into your company, right? So for Uber, it is rides and people paying for their rides. That's the revenue model. We're going to charge people per ride. That's the revenue model. Now, once you understand that, once you fashion that, and again, it's iterative. It has to be linked, as I mentioned, to cost recovery. What's your cost structure? If we're using that business model canvas, if anybody's familiar with it, you're looking at what are your key activities? What are the things that you have to be doing to deliver that value proposition to your customer? So if your value proposition is, I will deliver you an electric Keke Marwa, then your key activities you might find would be providing a place for them to charge the batteries, or actually bringing them new batteries every day, or whatever it is. That becomes one of your, and of course, the cost of that has to be added. Now, I started out by pointing out that VCs, a lot of VCs, when they like your business, there's a tendency for them to immediately start trying to suggest that you go into some kind of recurring charge, revenue model, where you have a monthly charge, or something like that. or it might just be a charge per use, but basically they want it to be more transactional, as opposed to contractual, your business models. So you need to be very, very aware of that in designing your revenue model. And going back to the example of the Keke Marwa, where you then need to go take a battery every day, you need to make sure that your cost recovery, that is added in. And what happens very often is that when you're pushed, when what I've seen happen to a lot of startups is when they're pushed to get into a monthly recurring charge or a pay-as-you-go or subscription-based or whatever, what often happens is that they underprice their products. Why? Because they want to fit into a nice price range. And that can be very difficult, right? Because especially when what you're doing is kind of new. So when you tell somebody that, okay, so take this Keke Marwa, to pay me 20K a day. The plus side is that you never have to buy petrol ever again. And the plus side is you don't have to buy the Keke Marwa. You just need to pay me 20,000 naira a day, and that Keke Marwa would run on electricity, on electricity, and I am responsible for giving you the batteries. So you work out the deal like that, and then 20K a day. The guy is used to delivering 10K a day when they do the hire purchase or whatever, or he delivers to the owner of the Keke Marwa or whatever. So just imagine an example where he's used to, or she's used to delivering only 10,000 naira a day. 20,000 naira a day suddenly seems like a lot. Although if you did your numbers, you might well find out that the 20,000 is more cheaper. So what would then happen? The entrepreneur will then try to push themselves into the 10,000 price range. And then they'll try to remove some things or try to push the problem down the line. And what I've found, especially with a lot of these solar equipment lenders or whatever, is that okay, well, I don't want to make too controversial a statement, but sometimes some of them are actually a Ponzi scheme, in the sense that their prices are too low and they're not doing full cost recovery, and so they just have to keep growing very fast and pushing out a lot of widgets to keep going and raising a lot of money to keep going. And so that's something you need to be mindful of. And of course, it's something that you need to sit down with whoever might be advising you or whoever has the know-how on, pricing, on market positioning, on just your overall marketing. You need to sit down very carefully with them and understand that. So anyway, the long and short of it is that your revenue model is iterative. You have an idea how you're going to charge it, but as you go, you learn some other things, and then you have to come back and reincorporate them into what your revenue model is. But yes, at the same time too, having said all of that, it would not be a good idea at all for you to launch a product into the market. Let's say, for example, as a Marwa, give me 20K a day type of proposition, and then 4 months later you come back and you say, okay, no, you have to buy the Keke Marwa. And then a few months later you come back and say, well, okay, actually those of you who even bought it, now there's even a monthly charge that you have to pay for maintenance and that kind of thing. So obviously you want to get it right and understand very broadly from the beginning. So it's something that you have to pay a lot of, very careful detail to, even though it's a simple thing and and in some businesses, it's quite clear what the revenue model is going to be. So if I do, for example, I do training on energy for hotel owners, for example. If I were doing that, it's quite clear what my revenue model would be. My revenue model would be, I'll charge you per session. That's it, right? Or I charge you for a number of sessions, a bundled number of sessions, or something like that. And it can be very clear, and it can be, it doesn't have to be volatile. In some other businesses, it has to be. And in energy, the most important thing I can say is if you're doing anything energy, you're doing renewable, you're doing even things like, you know, power and all of that, you need to be very, very careful and very carefully think about your cost recovery and make sure that you are fully, totally recovering your costs. So the first step you have to do is to almost, well, the way I do it, the way I've looked at it in the past, is to almost gold plate the solution, gold plate it, meaning that you put it in the best possible, you start with the best possible solution for yourself. And then you now do another iteration and look at, okay, what pricing model or, you know, would fit into, would be a closer fit with what the customer expects. What the customer expects, what the customer is used to, what the customer is moving towards, because that's another very important thing. Because what the customer expects and what the customer is moving towards can change very quickly, and you can be caught out completely. So what the customer is moving towards, what other competing products are offering, or startups or businesses are offering, and then use that to create the lower end. Or it might even be a mid-range, and then look at the poverty model, where you'll be drinking Gario, but you'll be pushing goods of these to start with, right? And then you, with the idea being that you can then load up some more premium or, you know, or higher priced alternatives to the same customers or to different customer segments. So, I mean, these are some of the practical pointers that I can speak to right now. So it's supposed to be 5-10 minutes. I'm mindful about time. So I'll end by saying, you know, just as you're developing your revenue models, free to just, and you know, subject to availability, which there usually would be at my availability. I'll be more than happy to help you walk through it, including mix. So I'll end on that note.
Well, great, Chair. Thank you for that session. I'm having a real good time here. So we'll move on to the last session tonight, which is the Q&A session, where founders get to ask our mentors questions. So I don't see any question on the chat box. I guess you guys have been listening with rapt attention. So let's go the same way we always do. So let's signify with the emoji. If you have any questions, let me see your hands up with the emoji. Do you have any question? Okay, I see first question, Jubril. Any other? Any? Jubril, just Jubril. Any other person? Okay. That's 2. Then Miriam, Kingsley, going, and I would say gone. Okay, so 4 questions. Charles. Okay, the door is opened one more time. Is that the last person? Would that be the last? Okay, so who is that? Yes, I see James, I see Miriam, I see Kingsley, I see Victor, Charles, I see Oyeka, and I see Paul. And that's all. Who else? No one else. Okay, we'll take those 5 questions. Now, mentors, Sheye, Tayo, and Vite, how would you want it? Do you want them to reel out the questions, or we take them one after the other? What do you guys say we do?
I would prefer one after the other.
Okay, so, okay, in no particular order, let's start with James. James, unmute and let's have your question.
Okay, thank you all, our mentors, for this section. I really learned a lot from it. So my question goes to Mr. Jibrite and Mr. Sayebase. So
that's like gigabyte.
That's what they call me in Europe and America. It's just that it's a first name. Adegbite. You know, most people it's a surname. It's not Jibrite, it's Bite. Adegbite. You know, we're all familiar with Adegbite. Not G-byte.
I'd rather love it as gigabyte. Let's call it out straight, gigabyte.
Okay, gigabyte.
Sorry.
Okay. Thank you.
Your question then.
Okay, so my question is on the revenue model, I'm really struggling with knowing which one to follow. Should I go with an outright model or an installment? So what we do is we sell solar power banks to students. So, but students don't really have money. And one of the things that prevents us from selling is for the fact that they want instrumental payments, but we're not ready to keep track of students in for them to pay in installments. So I'd like your advice on which direction we should go on that. Thank you.
Peter, you're mute. Your mic is mute. Okay.
Thanks a lot for the question, James. Depending on how you go is how your potential customers or your market that you want to serve is what they're saying, right? The first thing which you want to do is you want to make sure that you have asked enough. Let's say it's students, for example. You want to ask some students maybe in Lagos, some in Kano, some in Port Harcourt. So it's not just, right? You want to make sure you've just asked the question to enough students. If students are your market, there is no point in you developing something that they have told you clearly that they're not going to pay or to be uncomfortable for them to pay, unless you don't believe in the feedback they're giving you, unless you think there's something about the product that would change their mind. But in these very early stages, what determines a number of these things is based on the interaction you have with your potential clients. So if your clients are saying that this is the model I will prefer, or that's the model I'll prefer, even if you feel strongly, that that model might not be what it is, right? That's where you've got to, who are you building it for? You're not building it for yourself. You're not building it for graduates or people working, unless, you're changing the geography of who you're building it for. But you've got to listen to your potential clients and make those changes based on what the potential clients is. So I know it might be uncomfortable, or it might seem as if this is not what I want to do. I understand that. Very difficult, right? That this is not, can I just say, I'm sorry to take up time. What is the reason? Is it that you believe very differently from what your clients are telling you, from what the students, your clients are telling you? Do you believe that you see something that they're not saying? Or let me say, is it so difficult not to listen to their what you're hearing from them? What's the issue?
So the issue is on the stress is going to add to us to keep track of students. We install the solar unit for them and they don't pay, and we'll have to go to the school to take it out. So it's more convenient for us because we don't have branches in some of the schools. So it's convenient for us to they make an order online and we just sell it to them outrightly. So bringing in that installments method is added a lot of.
This is the important part. It's very important. We all make this mistake. You know what could happen? You will raise money and you will build the product and it'll be the best product in the world, but there'll be no one to buy it, right? And that's the whole point about this exercise. The whole point of like a Founders Institute and building as you go. That the aim is for us to, all the things we have fixed in our head, is to use small amounts of money to try it, to test it, to see. Because we might find out that all the things we're thinking is not what the market is saying, right? So what I would advise you do is maybe increase the amount of students you're asking from different jurisdictions. So, it is clear that the answer you're getting, it is a universal answer. And then that now leaves you whether you want to pivot away from students, or maybe you want to move to a richer demographic to offer the product. And my point is that that's exactly what these exercises are for. You know what I mean? And that's why I said that nothing is set in stone. The aim in these very early stages, right? And this is important for all of us to hear. This is where we make all the mistakes we're meant to make, right? We're not meant to be perfect, far from perfect. When we're investing in these very early stages, of course, it's kudos to those that have the idea is well developed, the idea is better, the website and everything is fantastic. Yes, those guys stand on top. But when we're looking for early stage, you're looking for an idea that makes sense. It's not a completed idea. You're looking for a group of founders that have energy and excitement, and the reason why they're chasing that idea. That's what you invest in. The improvements can be made. You know what I mean? That's what you invest in. So that difficulty you're facing now, it's frustration because a lot of work has gone. Your mind and your business plan is set on this. But my point is, this is what happens. You go rate 500,000 and you're going to finish the business. And then you're all of a sudden confused why you don't have any clients, because you didn't ask the question. And that's what you're doing, right? So rather than take the answers as being uncomfortable and frustrating and is going against your thesis, those answers are ensuring that you build a company that you will have customers that, you're listening to the students. You see where the problems are, right? That's what it is. So I think you should embrace it and really stress test the idea further. I would say before you do that, just increase the amount of students you're asking the questions, so to have a really clear idea of what actually they're saying to you. But it's painful, it's frustrating, but those are your clients. You listen to them and you don't just rush ahead and ignore, because who are you building the product for? You know what I mean?
Thank you, Gwite. I'm hugging you over here. I'm just hugging you right now. So founders, please, take it out of your head. Ask the questions. Get this customer interviews done. Understand what the market wants. Don't force things on them. You would be shocked. Okay, Mariam. Mariam, your question.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much to our mentors. In fact, one of the questions I had already been answered. But, there are times that you perceive your ideas to be such that it's bigger. It's as if your ideas are bigger than you because of the fact that you don't have the required resources to actualize those ideas and bring them to the market. So I just want to know, I understand that, okay, we need to understand our market, we need to understand the customers and all that. How do you continue to sustain the expectation, the drive, the hope that even though your idea is good and it's going to make a lot of difference and there is a market for it, you just don't have resources? How do you continue to sustain that expectation that, okay, it will be fine and you'll be able to find a funding to actualize this laudable idea? Thank you.
Thank you. Shayetayo, anyone wants to take a bite at that?
I think Gwite already answered that question when he talked about bootstrapping. And you bootstrap till your minimum viable product. That's the whole essence of the lean philosophy. And it means taking bite-sized stabs at your solution, and you develop the competence. You, in the same breath, develop the resilience till such a time when the market really opens up to you. And I think he hit all the points. You network aggressively like your life depends on it. You build the coalition, if it is possible, within your ecosystem and see if there is opportunity or there are avenues for partnerships and leveraging. Most of the problems people face is they want to be called CEO. They want to take the glory. So if you don't have that kind of a mindset, if you are willing to cede some ground to bring other people on board such that you multiply your forces, then it would stand you in good stead in the long haul.
Thank you.
I can just add to that, Miriam, right? And for all of us here, this is important, right? Now, the whole point why we can build companies or do things the way we're doing things now is a result of technology, right? But so before, it was very expensive. So Mariam, let's do it like, let's think of it like this. Now, if you're trying to build a Chevron, if you're going to think about building a Chevron today, where do you start? It's just too big. It's too much to do. It's overshadowing, it's empowering. Hence why this way of building companies. Yeah, we're going to end up with a Chevron, but we're going to start by taking very baby steps. If the first step is just to, if the first 5 years of the entire business is just checking whether our drill works, and yes, there are going to be 1,000 other products, but we're going to start with something very simple and basic to prove the concept, right? Because we're going to overwhelm ourselves. One, we don't have the capital for everything else. We don't even have the expertise. How many, what do we know, right? So what you're going to do, and this is what these sort of programs are for, is you're going to concentrate on the things that you have power on. The things that you can ask the question. It does not stop the idea. The idea and the concept is still massive. The Chevron you're going to build over the years is going to be massive, right? One of our portfolio companies, Kuda Bank, today Kuda is has 5.5 million customers. They did that in three years. It took majority of the other banks 15, 20 years to do. Not that Kuda is better than them or anything. All that happened is that it's a change. There's technology now. All the other banks use physical offices. That was what was important at that time to give trust, right? Buildings on every high street. But there's a change now. Technology has come, so Kuda did not bother thinking about all the things that they can offer someone that wants banking. They didn't bother of all, the transfers, the overdraft. They just started very simple. We're just going to open a bank account where you can save some money, and it's a bit fun. We'll give you maybe 10 free transfers, right? So you don't have to pay that 50 naira, 10. Very basic, very simple. Yes, they're going all the way to offer foreign accounts. They're going all the way to offer all these things. But if they think about all that, they won't get there. So it is baby steps. It does not, and that's the whole point why companies, these startup companies are built this way. They are built that you try an idea. You have an idea, you think it makes sense, you try it out small. If there's someone that likes the concept of the idea, then you go the next step, and the next step, pre-seed, seed, Series A, that you're testing what you think to be right every step of the way. So it does not diminish your dream. It does not stop on what you're trying to build. But the way it has been done, especially with these courses, it is taking it step, because if you don't take it step by step, it's overwhelming. Right now, you want to build some energy companies, and the amount of capital that's involved in this thing is massive. Where do you start from? You know what I mean? It's overwhelming. It is, it will kill the confidence. It will kill the spirit. The imposter syndrome starts. It's too much. That's the reason. It's intentional why companies are built this way. Pre-seed, you do angel round, your friends and family, you try a couple of things, you see proof of concept, it makes sense. Like the gentleman I was speaking to, now he can come back and say, well, this is what students want, right? Now, where he's going to a company that wants to cover students all over Africa. But for him to get there, if he starts talking to people about that massive idea now, what is going to cross my head? Well, how old is he? What is the experience? What does he know? But so he's not going to. The way you're building your company is looking at human psychology, is looking at a number of things. The best way for someone that has get from A, so nothing changes. All that has happened is that you're breaking it down into baby steps, small steps. Like say, for example, once we sort out that pitch in the 1 minute pitch, and we're confident with the 1 minute pitch. Now, unknown to you, that 1 minute pitch is a simple baby step that has been broken down. Once you're confident with that 1 minute pitch, it ticks a number of other boxes. It increases your knowledge of your business, your process, right? But that's what it is. It's baby. Let me stop before I take up all the time. But I hope you understand what I mean, right? That don't look at the big thing. They're not killing the big dream. The big dream is there. You're just taking one step at a time to get there. That's all it is.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. So, Kingsley, your question next.
Okay, thank you very much for having me, and I want to thank all the mentors. It has really been insightful. My question is a revenue model for. So there are certain revenue models that are easy, like we had, to develop, but there are others that are difficult to develop. I give an example. That's where my question is coming from. Imagine offering a pipeline security solution to the oil and gas industry. Major player here, maybe the NMPC, who manages this pipeline. By developing this solution, and you want to offer it to them. What kind of revenue model will I use for such a solution? And how do I ensure scalability? Because take baby step and then ensure scalability. I really want to know, because it's not as easy as other kind of business, like business that are built on maybe software technology and all.
Okay. What revenue model do you have in mind?
Okay, what I have in mind was before this program, what I have in mind is to develop a minimum viable product, maybe get funding somehow, develop that minimum viable product, and then try to get access to the decision makers in this industry, to see if they can give me opportunity to demonstrate that solution, and to let them know what savings it will be given to them if they deploy the solution over the one they are using currently. That's what I'm thinking. But it looks like a one-off thing where they just buy it off and it's installed. So I'm just thinking, what is the best way to ensure that there is scalability, and continue to raise revenue from this solution instead of just selling it one-off? That's what I'm trying to.
The industry has gone to digitalization now, so your solution ties in with digital oil field and the future of the oil and gas industry. The easiest way to penetrate the market is to approach one of the very new marginal oil field operators, preferably those operating in the swamp area, because then you can demonstrate value at a very high level also, especially if you have drone or drone technology as one of your offerings. With a drone technology, you can help with bathymetry, you can help them with I don't want to say rig move now, you can help them with access, because ordinarily in the swamp, people will need to dredge, and when you dredge, you interact with the community. Interacting with the community comes at a cost. Your offering, especially if you are offering drone technology as well, cuts out all of those. It cuts out the days to travel from their office to the swamp, to dredge, to clear the path, to interface with the community. So demonstrating value to a marginal field operator is very easy. And because the marginal field operators are vested by NMPC, NMPC is very much interested in their success. If they come to NMPC, especially during quarterly performance reviews, they can invite you into the meeting, you give them a demonstration, or you present to them at DPR. Now I think it's now called NUPRC. That's where you need to go to, and you would have your leg in the door. So with one project, you can build a portfolio. That's the best way to do it. Now, in terms of how you can charge, there are so many ways to slice and dice it. But you need to look at the terrain and think of how you can charge them. but I would not approach NMPC. It's the wrong step. You need to go to a marginal field operator first.
Thank you for the response, sir. Thank you so
very
much. Okay, so we'll move on. Next person is Onyeka. Your question quickly. Onyeka, unmute your mic and ask your question. Onyeka, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. So, your question.
Okay. So thank you, BT. Thank you, Chair. It's been very educative. In the course of answering most of the other questions, I think I've been able to figure out the answer to the question to ask. However, for the purpose of others who may be interested, so when you eventually go to the market and you experience a disaster in your launch, how do you pick up from it? So I'm doing a product or a service to just like Uber, but Uber with not drivers, but people who own cars. And basically it's not a random Uber service. It's for people who own cars to pick up neighbors and colleagues, take them to work, and then after work, pick them back home. That kind of service, basically. We'll do subscription payment. It would help to reduce cost of transportation by over 50%, but not over, let me just say over 40%. So I'm not too, I don't exaggerate so much. But when you eventually do your MVP, you have gone through pre-seed and then all of that, and then you have a launch disaster for failure sake. How do you re-strategize? What strategies do you put in place to be able to get back up out of it? That's the question, basically.
Thank you. So, mentors, who wants to take a bite at that?
Shagun, do you want to go? I mean, I would just say something small on Onyeka.
Okay.
So if you think about what you've just said now, is the same thing. So the downsides of it is obviously it's a lot of time and energy that has gone into it. A lot of investment has gone into it. But if you really think about it, what has gone wrong there? Your confidence has taken a hit. Your energy is down. All the work that you've put in, all the planning and everything that you had in mind has just been, it's not yielded the fruit that you thought it would yield. And that's what I'm getting at, is that a fundamental part in building these companies is working on ourselves, right? Because if you think about it, if the launch went well, then you'll be doing well. You'll be in the process of raising capital. Now, if the launch didn't go well, clearly it's something you've misjudged about the market. The launch not going well is the market telling you something. You know what I mean? Unless there's some bit of bad luck, maybe elections or something. But that's what it is. A launch not going well is the market telling you what I expected to happen in reality now hasn't happened. So it's painful, it's expensive.
Oh,
Yeah, I can hear you again. Okay.
I think he's been cut off.
Oh. Okay, he'll come back on.
He'll come back. Let's take the next question, Paul. Paul, your question, please.
Or Charles. Okay.
Right. Thank you so much, FI. I have direct questions. One, when one of us was presenting, although I had serious network problems, so I wasn't hearing clearly, but I overheard one of the mentors saying that Nigeria is not ripe for biogas. I would like to, know specifically from him why he thinks so, since the government is actually favorable towards energy related investment, and there is market for it, and already there are existing from the project FI gave to us. I noticed that there are existing successful biogas projects in Nigeria in, is it Bamu in Ogun State, Tinubu Health Center here in Lagos and things like that. Number one, why is he saying that Nigeria is not ripe for biogas? Secondly, talking about MVP, is it possible for, even if you cannot produce your own product, for you to go and purchase a product to present to someone? Because I was talking to a lady and she said, brother, go and bring your product, make I see. I was trying to explain biogas. He said, Oga, go and bring them. If I see them, I go know what I go talk. I was now thinking, must it be my own product that I will go and present to her, or I can just go and look for a biomethane, because I want to go into production of biomethane. If I can just go and look for correct biomethane, buy and present to her for the test. The third aspect is I want to produce biomethane, and that will during the process, I will produce. There is a co-product that we produced, which is carbon dioxide and biofertilizers. All the focus that I have on FI has been on just one particular product, but I feel that also producing those co-products will give me an edge over my customers and make my business sustainable. And with the way the activities of FI is, and the way I want to also put my interest in the business, I don't just want to do it for FI purpose. I go out and I sometimes don't even have the time to come and answer the questions as it is stated. And what I'm meeting in the field sometimes is not what the question is all about. How will I be able to is it minimize, or they are also always saying reduce it, cut down, reduce the customer problem, reduce. Meanwhile, I'm thinking of expand. What faith have I in this aspect? Thank you very much.
Well, I'll answer your very first question about biogas. My opinion is we have infrastructural deficit in Nigeria. Then you have this behemoth, the oil and gas companies. They will swamp any perceived competition. It's not to say that you cannot gain inroads, but scalability is key. You ask yourself, how scalable is your offering? What is the size of your serviceable, addressable market? I agree that Lagos has a population of probably 7 million or 10 million. And let's say your serviceable, addressable market is it's 10% of that 1 million. 1 million is too optimistic. From where I sit, I concede that it's the way to go, but with the kind of architecture we have, energy architecture we have in Nigeria, I don't see a clear pathway to scaling. Then in terms of minimum viable product, if you borrow someone else's device, I don't know if that qualifies for minimum viable product. What I would have expected would be, perhaps you can build a model. If you can build a model, or if you can do one that is digital and use that to demonstrate, I think that will qualify for a minimum viable product. And that's your second question. Then the third question, I think you talked about reducing the customer pain point. Is that?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, what you need to guard against is you should not fall in love with the solution. You have to fall in love with the problem. If you fall in love with the problem, you can stay with it for a very long time. Even if your launch fails, or if your minimum viable product is subpar, you can always pivot. And like Chair was talked about, an iterative process for the revenue model. The same thing with the minimum viable product. The minimum viable product is very iterative. You keep, that's why you always hear that there's a first release, there's a beta 2.1, there's a beta 2.4 release of a particular product. So that's the way to go. But I'm not throwing your idea out of the water, out of hand. I was just expressing a honest concern for its scalability.
Thank
There was
you
someone
very much.
I was even talking to. He was telling me that why don't I use
Charles, there are certain discussions you can take to office hours with some of the mentors. Huh? So if let's go on with, if you've done your customer interview, you have questions, you can push them to office hours. Huh? Thank you. Paul, the last question for tonight. Paul. Thank you. Yes, Paul.
Hello.
Yes. Okay, go on.
Right. Yeah, I wanted to say big thanks to all the mentors for today's session. It was such a great session. And of course, thanks to FI for this program. So my question is very simple and straightforward. It goes to Vite, and I don't know if he's still here. He spoke about the lean methodology, lean process for startups, and he talked about grants. Now, I know that in building some kind of businesses, like what we are building at Africa Wealth Initiative, we know that we're building a unicorn. There's so many cluster of operations that go on in our day-to-day business activities. I was wondering if there's an automated process for seeking for grants, for example, getting into the grant ecosystem, if there was an automated process, or it's easy for you to look for maybe grant writers or look for platforms that can enable that. So I just wanted to get the best way to approach this, especially when you're involved with so many things within your business that you don't really have time to focus on, raising, maybe looking at grants or raising extra income in a particular direction. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for the question. Great question. I really admire the confidence. I love the fact that you're building a unicorn, and we hope the very, 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 very best as we watch you build your unicorn. I think it's the same like with most things, right? Let me put it to you in another way. And this is the bit where, as a founder, unfortunately, there's just a bit of work we need to do. Right now, you mentioned earlier on you need $1 million, right? You're going to raise $1 million. It would be fantastic if there's somewhere where you could go just say a couple of things and, it's there, right? It's the same way it is for everything. I mean, there are a number of, it works in two ways. Of course, there are professionals that write grants or apply for grants on behalf of people, right? Because they have experience of it, so they know all the sorts of grants that are available. As from a starting point, it's all down to research, but it really is research. I would look into, because I do have a few that concentrate on Africa, and they do give grants, energy, clean tech. So I would get some what I have across to Ajuma tomorrow. But really, what it is that I hear that. I hear what you're saying with the million things we have to do as a founder. You're being the CFO, C2, and everything. I hear that, but it's the one bit where a founder doesn't get sympathy, and that's the bit where it's just continuous researching and turning over stones to search for what it is. The first thing is that you're looking for grants, right? Then you're looking for who awards grants in Africa. Then you're looking for who awards grants in Africa in your sector. You know what I mean? That there's not, yes, there are a couple of bodies there that would offer a number, but it really is continuous research, using your network. Using your network, speaking to people like we've spoken today, and like I said, I'll get some sort of information across to FI to distribute. But in all honesty, it's just continuous looking and searching. There are a couple of places where they've aggregated it. There are a couple of people that charge, but it's you're just gonna. That's the bit that when you become a unicorn, that's the reason why. You're the one that's worth 300 million because you own 30% of the company. As a result of that dirty work, that uncomfortable work of turning over the stones, ensuring that we're speaking to the right people, not just anybody, right? That's the bit where we do the work. So a bit of work is needed. Like I said, I'll get some information across, but that's it. If you had money, if you had raised capital and you're not bootstrapping, that's something that you just give one of your junior staff to go and do, right? Go and do the research and come up with everything. But when we are bootstrapping and we're doing it and we've not raised capital, unfortunately, you know, it's just the extra that we do. And believe you me, it's doable. You know, no matter how much you've got on your plate, if others have come before us and they've done it, we're doing it. We just have to manage our time better. Remember what we're talking about in the bootstrapping, right? Just focus on what's important and what's not important. If the grant and money is very important right now, then there really there's nothing else that's more important if you think about it, right? If you don't have any money and you think you're going to go down next week, right? Then there's nothing more important than you trying to get a grant. You know what I mean? It's focus on what's important. But yes, I will send across information, but I would say you just, you know, you become resourceful. That's what makes you as a founder. In you trying to build your company, you're going to learn different traits. You're going to learn new traits. Don't run away from it, no matter how hard it is. And just for this sake of it, when you're speaking to Ajuma, Shego, and the rest of them, and because I've been through a couple of these accelerators myself, it does come across like stress. It does sometimes come across like we're in school. It does come across we've got to answer assignments and everything. I think what makes the whole process powerful and exciting, right, is if you turn it in your head that what you're doing currently right now is you're in the process of building a unicorn. There's power in it. It turns away from stress. It becomes excitement that you want to find out some certain things. You want to ask your customers those questions, right? And all that can be done by just looking at things in a different way. But all these things make us more resourceful, make us better founders, you know, make us more rounded entrepreneurs. So yes, like I said, it's just continuous research, and there are no shortcuts sometimes. And sometimes the shortcut comes as a result of you doing the hard work. You've got a decent network. In this case, for example, you've got the Founders Institute. The fact that you're with the Founders Institute means that unlike many other entrepreneurs, you've gone the extra step. And this is what I'm saying. You've gone the extra step. So you're now part of a network that you were not part of before. So you're going to tap into that network to find out what's the best way for me to get grants, right? And that's what you've just done now, right? So nothing is handed over to any of us on a plate. It gets easier the more you build up your networks. But your job is to keep searching, keep turning over those stones. And that's the reason why, like I said, when the company is a unicorn, that's the reason why you're the bad guy that owns the 300 million and we are the ones that just own 1% or something, right? That's the reason. I hope that answers it. I hope that was not a cop out of the question.
It wasn't. Thank you, guys. Before I hand over to Lady A to round up, I just want the mentors to confirm certain things for me. Just one thing, because I'm getting a lot of messages behind the scene. I want to confirm that you'll be setting up office hours. Vite, Tayo, and Shea, will you be setting up office hours?
So I've set up, I set it up, and maybe it's not registered. I set it up just before I jumped up. I set up for the 9th and the 16th. So the 9th, I think, is next week, and the 16th. So I think
for 9th and 16th. Tayo.
And 16th, yeah.
I'll give it a stab when I get off the call. I've not set up any office.
Okay, great. Just contact. So please, Jubril, I know you want to get these guys on, so they're on for you. 916 Vite, watch out for Tayo. He'll be setting up. I will get in touch with Sheye and Bade, and Sheye Bade, and they'll also set up officers. Lady A, it's over to you.
Wow, it's been a great session of learning, and thank you so much for all your practical insights into the topic. We're very, very grateful. And your comments, really support the work that we're doing here at Founder Institute. All of the assignments and exercises, in fact, since the previous session, or let's say the second session, which was vision, there we already started with exercises with customer interviews, customer problems, and then last week was customer development, which, you know, is a deeper dive into that, including market research. And thankfully, you know, like I've been advising all of them, you know, focus on the problem. You need to find customers for this wonderful idea that you're birthing. If you don't have customers who are willing to pay XYZ, then you need to quickly iterate. So all of that, you know, has been emphasized this evening, you know, and there's a need to bootstrap. So you're here to try to test your thesis. That's what you're here to do. So all the exercises we're giving you, templates, just the work. If it will cost you some sleepless nights, yes, you have to research. You have to do the research. You must put in work. So founders, I know that you're all catching up, you know, with all that is going on in here, especially with this evening's session. So we'd like to see improvement in your work, approach, resilience, tenacity is required to be an entrepreneur. And so before investors part with their money, you must be well packaged, and you must, you know, display all of these attributes. I was listening to Dangote one day. He said it took him 30 years to be where he is, 30 to be where he, but look at the time he started business, and look at, you know, the infrastructure for business at the time, and the kind of infrastructure, access to information, you know, technology that we have now. So today's world cuts it much, much shorter for you to achieve and actualize your business goals and your dreams and the goals, you know. But there's a process. And so if you are in Founder Institute, just, you know, like we will say in our Nigerian parlance, follow who know road. Follow who know road. So those exercises, everything, you know, that you're saying, just sit by it, soak yourself in it, and just do it. And you can't die inside that idea. Like we've been, well, once you don't have customers for that idea and they can't pay the price, forget it. Forget it, move, you know, move, keep moving. As you do the research, you will find that more and more solutions, and you'll be finding the customers for the right problems that's now, you know. So please remember to book office hours with the mentors. And Bite, Tayo, okay, Bite has already done his. So Tayo, we want dates for this week, if possible.
I'll set up
okay, Tayo
for Saturday and Sunday, 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. 5 a.m. my time is 10 a.m. your time in Lagos or Abuja. So 10 a.m. Lagos till 1 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. I'll set it up tonight.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So we're grateful. Yes. All right. So we've come to the end of the evening, and well, so do all have a happy night rest. Out here in Abuja, we'll have it's been raining and the weather is cool, so we'll all sleep well. So wherever you are, do take care, and see you again next week, or office hours. Yes, I also have office hours Friday. So see you. I'll open up more slots. Yeah, more hours so you can all join. So good night. Bye.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Thanks,
Thank
Victor. Good night.
Good night,
Thanks,
everyone.
Kaye.
Good night.
Good night,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye.